Hey, are you ever going to start this podcast you've been talking about for like forever?
Do you think that anyone will actually want to listen to something like this?
What is your plan for an introduction?
Are you sure you want to talk about these topics? People usually disagree.
3 hours? Are you crazy?
Do you think you're some kind of expert or something?
Are you planning to have an intro song?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
Do you even know how to make a podcast?
Are you just doing this because you like to argue with people?
Don't let this be just one more thing that you talk about doing, but never actually do.
Wouldn't it be better to do just one episode for each topic?
Stop trying to change people's opinions. Just live your own life.
Dude, people are never going to agree. Just let it go.
Is this going to be a long intro? Because if it is, I'm bored already.
Well, hello there, and thanks for tuning in. So to continue in my no ranting so as to not upset the natives, if you don't know what I mean about that, check out last week's episode. Today I'm just going to share a funny story about something that happened to me long ago while working at a library that is no longer in existence. Okay, here we go. He came in and said he was glad to come in and get away from the vultures. When questioned further, he spoke and said that they were spiritual vultures, of course. Then he stared at a picture of Nicolas Cage holding a copy of the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. He said, "Is that the Mona Lisa?" "No," I said. He said, "What is it?" I told him that it was indeed a picture of an actor. He stared at it a while longer. Then he replied, "No, it's not. That's the Mona Lisa. I can't believe you don't see that." He had a very long and scraggly beard. He asked me if I thought that having such a long beard made communication harder. I just stared at him. He then asked me if I ever noticed that by me having a clean-shaven face, if it caused communication problems. I told him, no, I never noticed that. He questioned me again and said, "Do you suppose that having this long of a beard would cause problems in communication with others? Because I have thought about shaving it close." I again assured him that, no, I didn't think so. He replied, "Oh, you don't think so, huh?" I replied, "No, I don't, but that's my own opinion. I can't speak for everyone." A lady walks by and says, "Why not?" I laugh. He's sitting in the back with a copy of the Hebrew-English dictionary open before him. He is reading Hebrew words out loud so that everyone can hear him. He sounds like he is chanting. The last time I saw him, up till now of course, was when he was up against a wall reading a Ripley's Believe It or Not book. Now you may have your own theories about this exchange, as I also have mine, and you might wonder if we can believe it or not. But what I can assure you of is that this all really did happen. If you'd like to share your own thoughts or opinions about this odd encounter with me, please send me an email at whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Now to today's episode. Today my guest is Terri Chamberlain, who fairly recently got married to one of my all-time best friends, Justin. Justin has been super supportive of this podcast and has been promoting it to everyone he knows. He also set up many of the out-of-state guests that I will have on upcoming episodes. The first of which is his wife, Terri. I had only spoken with Terri one other time before our meeting to record this episode, and it's fun going into these with hardly any knowledge of what my guest believes. We had a great discussion, and after getting to know Terri, and based on how well I know Justin, I believe that he has truly found his soulmate. Which isn't really something I believe in, but hey, it is what it is. Topics we discussed today are Megadeth, Metallica, country music, Keith Urban, Tom Petty, the Eagles, Godsmack, Tool, Ashes Anew, Papa Roach, Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, The Beach Boys, Shinedown, 3 Days Grace, Whackamole, The Revivalists, Falling in Reverse, No Turning Back, Aerosmith, AC/DC, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Raising Kids, Trans Rights, Bullying, Suicide, Stolen Elections, Joe Biden, Ted Cruz, Ron DeSantis, Does Love Require Approval, Heaven and Hell, Mormonism, Baptisms for the Dead, the Trinity, Asking for Forgiveness, and Salesmen. Enjoy the conversation. So, all right. So how's it going?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I woke up, so that's that.
That is good. Yeah, we're not always promised that, right? So,
Yep.
Is this pretty early for you normally, or?
No, I get up. I go to work sometimes at 3:00 in the morning. So really, this is sleeping
okay.
in.
3 o'clock. Dang. What do you do for work?
I work at the plywood mill here in town.
Okay.
We make plywood, so I run hot presses, or I actually my job is the utility, so I do cleanup and give them breaks and check glue, make sure that the spread is good. Oh my God, sorry, my cat is in a full pain. He's knocking stuff off the table.
Yeah, I get it. I the first season of this I had to, almost every episode you hear the click, 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 click of my dogs walking across the wood floor. And I find like, okay, I'm putting them in the kennel when I'm doing one of these because it's just every time. But then I've had people be like, oh, I like when I hear that. It's just, it sounds so like, like you're just having a conversation with somebody in your living room. I said, well, that is kind of what I'm doing. But yeah. So, all right. Well, cool. How long you been at that job?
10 years.
Okay. Nice.
I like it. I plan on retiring from there.
Okay. Very, very cool. So, all right. Well, this is going to be fun because we hardly know each other at all. Most of these I do. I know people a little bit, but now that I've opened up this remote possibility, it's kind of like all these people all over the place. I mean, so really all I know of you is what I've heard from Justin. So yeah, you recently married one of my best friends. So I don't know what you were thinking there, but
yeah, I wonder the same thing sometimes. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Am I in the midst of a midlife crisis? What am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So you're in Idaho.
Yeah.
Have you been there like your whole life, or
yeah, I was born here.
In that specific town?
No, I was born and raised in Nampa. I had 2 of my kids in Nampa, 1 in Caldwell, all in southern Idaho. So. Okay.
And you have how many kids?
3.
3 kids. Okay.
Yep. I have a 24-year-old son who just got married last year, and his name's Cameron, and now he's making me a grandma.
Oh, nice.
So
congratulations.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got a new edition coming in November. And then I have my daughter who is 19, who just graduated high school, and she works at the mill now. She got a higher paying job than me.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And her job pays her $30+ an hour.
What?
I'm like, well, I can't be mad about that. It actually makes me really happy because I know she's going to be taken care of. So
right. And that she's 19, you said?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I can't imagine making $30 an hour at 19.
I know, right?
That's nuts.
I'm happy. I'm really happy about it. And then my oldest, he works out there at the mill too. He just started out there.
Oh, a family affair. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of families that work out there.
Okay.
And then my youngest is Benjamin, who's 17, or he will be 17 July 28th. So I just tell everyone he's 17 so I can get used to it.
Right.
And then he does like his own thing. Like he's leaving Sunday and going to Florida for a week, all expense paid trip through the church.
Okay.
He
it's like a missionary thing, or?
No, it's just youth group kids, all high schoolers. Okay. And they're going up to Tampa Bay, Florida for a week and joining with a bunch of other high schoolers from other churches. And
so they're going to Florida in July.
Yeah.
So is that kind of like trying to get the kids, okay, this is probably what hell's going to be like, so you don't want to be here?
Probably. I told him too. I said, you get every single pair of shorts that you own and take them. And they can't wear open-toed shoes. They said no open-toed shoes. So I was like, oh gosh, you're going to die.
Yeah, it's brutal. We went to Orlando a couple years ago in July. It was like the middle of July. And that was our first time ever being to Florida at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, people live here on purpose. Like this is like, this is crazy. I mean, I'm sure it's nice in like the winter months is probably really nice because it's not as cold as like where you're at. It gets really cold where you're at in the winter, right?
Oh yeah.
Does it get like, how cold does it get?
Oh geez, usually? We had one day we were at work and it was 16 below.
Oh my gosh, below?
16 below. We were outside having fun, you know. I mean, it was cold. We didn't really want to go outside, but we'd take cups of hot water and throw it up in the air, and it literally freeze right when you threw it up in the air before it hit the ground. It was cool. It was so cool to watch. But we were making our bosses go outside and do it so we could watch out the window.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't want to be out there in that. No way, man. That's horrible. Because I can't. I was at a point like years ago where I hated the heat. And I was like, give me all the cold in the world because I hate the heat. And now it's almost like a total reversal has happened. Like I'll take 100-degree day over even like a 40-degree. Like 40 to me is like this. I'm dying. This is miserable. Man. So, I mean, if I was going to live somewhere where you're at, it's like it'd take me a long time to acclimate to something like that for sure.
Well, I've been here for a long time. I've been up in this. The cat just destroyed something, I think. But anyways, I've been in this area for like 14 years and I still can't even get used to the winter. I told Justin, I was like, you know, whenever we get old, or he's already old, but when
yes, he is up there. That is true.
When I retire, I was like, I want to be snowbirds. Literally, I love this area, but once that snow hits, I'm gone. I want to be gone, somewhere warm.
Right. You just buy a house in Florida and have a house in Idaho, and then you can just go spend 6 months in each place. You know.
Yeah. So there's people around here that do it. Our neighbor guy, he has a place in Arizona and California. And when it started snowing here, he took off. And he barely showed up like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I mean, if you can afford that, that's the way to go. But I mean, obviously that's not, we can't all own multiple houses in different states.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you can if you're making $30 an hour at 19, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
I know that girl, she's doing good. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't even, I mean, I don't make that now either. And I've been in my job for 16 years. I don't make anywhere near that. And I'm in California where the cost of living is probably higher than it is where you are, but
for sure.
Yeah.
But ours is getting up there, I think.
Yeah. Well, there was like a big boom years ago where it seemed like everybody from Cali was going to Idaho. And then that made your market go up. And I have a couple friends that live up in other areas of Idaho now too. And they're kind of the same way. Like, yeah, people up here don't really like Californians because they keep coming up here and making everything skyrocket. And then
they're buying all of our stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
When we want something, we can't get it. Because they're coming over here and they're buying up all of our houses and everything with cash.
Right.
We're like, hey, go home.
Right,
and then,
exactly.
And I'm not saying anything against you California people, but I don't have a problem with them until they come over and try to change things.
Right. Like,
and it's like you left California for a reason, so don't come here and try to make this California.
Right. Right. No, I'm with you. And that's the whole because like people that are leaving California are usually leaving, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but I know a lot of the people I talk to, it's usually political, or it's something like, I can't believe some of the laws that are passing here. I can't believe what Gavin Newsom's doing, this kind of stuff. We're out of here. And so they're usually conservatives that are trying to go to a place like Idaho where it's more conservative, or after the Idaho boom, it was Tennessee became the big place to go. And my wife and I were looking at going there for a long time. We still kind of are. It's still on the table. It gets hot and humid there in the summer too, though. So it's hard for someone growing up in California, especially my area of California. We're pretty much 75 degrees all year round. I mean, we get maybe down in the 40s or 50s occasionally, and we'll have our occasional 90 to 100 week where it has this heat wave. Yeah, right. It's always extremes, right? But I mean, for the most part, it's pretty even across the board. So if I go anywhere where it's above 80, I'm dying. If I go anywhere it's below 50, I'm dying, So it's like, it's hard to find anywhere in the country that's not, one of those extremes. But it's just like, oof.
There's a couple of times Justin irritated me because he'd be talking and complaining and stuff. And I'd be like, go back to California.
Yeah.
I was like, get out of here. This is my state.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, especially him. I don't know if he's still the same way, but when I knew him when he lived here, he used to talk about how all his energy came from the sun. Like, he loved the hot weather. Like it'd be like 120. We'd be at the beach. I'd be ready to call an ambulance, and he'd be like, "This is the greatest thing ever. This is fantastic." I was like, "Dude, what is wrong with you?"
I would be dying if it was 120.
Yeah, it was miserable. I remember one time we were at the beach, and the beach is supposed to be cooler, right? Because you're by the ocean and all that, and it was like 106 or something at the beach, and we were trying to hang out there, and I was like, "Oh, this is miserable. This is like, this is horrible."
You're not having fun when you're hot,
right?
When you're overheated, it's not fun anymore.
Right. Exactly. Especially if you get cranky like I do. I get hot and cranky. People get hangry when they're hungry. I'm that way when I get hot. It's like, ugh, no way, forget it. But
yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into some music stuff. That's where I start usually. Are you? I'm assuming most people are fans of music in some way. If you just say no, then we just stop here and we go on to something else. But it's like,
oh no, I love music.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's start early as you can remember. Like, what's the first time you ever remember thinking to yourself, wow, I love this song. I love this band. I love this whatever,
It was when I was a teenager, and one year for Christmas, I think I was like early teen maybe. My mom's fiance at the time got me a Walkman. I mean, back in the day, the tape cassette thing.
Right.
And we didn't have all the fancy stuff yet. Mm-hmm. And it was Megadeth and Metallica.
Nice.
It was, oh gosh.
What year would this be?
Oh, geez. It was when they came out with it had one on it. What was that one?
Oh, and Justice for All. Okay.
And Justice for All.
So that was like 1988, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
When that came out. Yep. That was a good one. Yeah. So then Megadeth would have been what, like Countdown to Extinction, maybe? Or
yes, it was that one, Countdown to Extinction.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh! And then that opened up my world, and I turned into this rocker chick. And
that's awesome. Well, that would have done it for me too. I mean, both to this day, those two bands are big for me.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't know. Everyone at my work listens to country, and I'm like, kind of. It's always about, my dog died, my wife took my house, blah blah blah.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's always that joke. If you play the records backwards, they get all their stuff back. It's like everything good happens to them. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I would always say I like everything but country. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, by the time I got to that stage, because of course I grew up when you and I were younger, there wasn't a lot of this I like everything stuff. Everybody had their own cliques, their own thing. And for me, it was hip hop, gangster rap kind of stuff that I started with. But once I got into high school around there, I started to say I like pretty much everything. But I would still always say everything but country.
Yeah.
Right? But country. But now I can't say that because I mean, it's definitely not my favorite genre, but there's a lot of country I do like. I prefer the older stuff like Johnny Cash and Hank Williams and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Some guy on a porch playing a banjo. It's like I like to get that visual. It's just kind of neat. As opposed to some of the more produced poppy country that's out today. But so do you hate country, or is there anything that you?
No, I don't hate country. I just I think it's depressing. I mean, I do like some country. I can't say I hate it all because there is some country that I do like. Mm-hmm. Could I tell you a song? Probably not. But if I heard it, then I'd be like, oh yeah, I like this song. But
yeah. I always say the most modern country guy I like is Josh Turner.
Oh, yeah.
He's got that real deep voice, and he's, and a lot of his songs are just, I like his lyrics. He talks about, living out on the ranch and watching the kids grow up. And, that's the kind of stuff I like to, it kind of makes me wish I was that, because I've always been like, I've never done that. Like, I've never lived that life, but there's something in me that's always like, man, that's what I wish I would have done. Like, if I could go back in time when I first married Bethany, it would be like, okay, let's go buy like 10 acres somewhere. And just like, just live the country life, but,
I like my little mountain life. I did live in the country there for a while because, I wanted to be the country. I never have been one for big cities. I just don't. I can't get used to them.
Like
And
even as a
I don't
kid?
like being around huge amounts of people.
Okay.
Um,
And have you
I,
always been that way since you were younger, or is that something that's developed over time?
No, that's just the way I've always been. And it's so weird because I like people, but then I don't like people.
Right.
Because I don't like trying to figure out if they're real or not. And I think that's the main reason why, is because I don't like the games. I don't like trying to put the puzzle pieces together. Just be who you are. You know, I'm going to respect you more if you can do that.
Right. Right.
But anyways, getting back to music, my very first country concert I ever went to, and I still like him, is Keith Urban.
Okay.
And I seen him and Miranda Lambert together.
Nice.
And I was pregnant with my daughter, Jasmine. So that's how long ago that was.
And she's a 19-year-old?
Yeah, she's 19.
Okay.
So his way back.
Okay.
I was like 3 months pregnant. So I used to tell her when she was young that Keith Urban was her dad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Until she starts trying to connect with him and try to collect, like child support payments and stuff, it's like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
Then let's see. My very first concert I ever bought tickets to and seen was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, so cool. I would have loved to have seen him someday.
And that was an awesome, fun concert.
Yeah, I've heard he's great live. He's just he's real personable with the crowd. And he's just like, people say he doesn't seem like a celebrity. He's just like your friend that's up there playing music,
is.
Yeah.
He's just this dude. And he's just hanging out and jamming and he's so cool. He's just down to earth. He's just a person. You wouldn't even think of him as a rich person. He doesn't even look like it. So, I mean, whatever. It's cool. And then another concert that I went to, oh my God, it was so amazing, is I seen the Eagles.
Man, you got some good ones. Is this all in Idaho?
No, Washington was Eagles. Tom Petty was Idaho.
Okay.
Keith Urban was Idaho.
Okay.
And it was Spokane, so it's just like a jump from here,
It's just right there. How long of a drive is that?
About, depending on how far you're going, it could be like an hour and a half, maybe.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No.
Okay.
So,
I didn't realize you guys were that close to the Washington border.
Oh yeah. So, I seen Godsmack in concert. That was fun.
Yeah.
And I keep telling everybody, if they ever come back, I'm going again. That was an amazing concert.
Yeah. Well, they just released the first album in a long time, right? Recently?
I think
they just released I know they just released a new one. I'm not sure how long it was since the last one. I mean, that's a band I haven't really followed probably since their first album. Way back, Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why I had their first album and I enjoyed it. I just, for some reason, I never really. There's a couple bands like that. It's like Disturbed is the same one. I had their first album, loved it, and then
Tool is coming. I would love to go see them.
Yeah, I heard they were touring again too, and I heard that's quite a show too.
Yeah, I've seen. Let's see. I went to Rock Hard in the arena, and there I seen Ashes, Anew, Papa Roach, Five Finger Death Punch, In This Moment, and Bad Wolves.
Oh, nice.
So 5 bands there.
And it's all at the same show.
Yeah, it was fun. The very first concert I ever took my daughter to was Breaking Benjamin.
Okay.
And Five Finger Death Punch.
Okay.
And that's her favorite band is Breaking. See, I even raised Little Rockers. But my son is a country music, and now my daughter is too, because she's with a cowboy. But she still listens to her rock.
Okay.
Then next month for my son's birthday. Oh, I guess it's not next month because next month's July. So in August, I'm taking my son.
It is next month. Today's July 1st.
Oh, okay. Well, then next month.
So you just made it. Your statement just barely makes it in.
Sweet. So I'm taking my son to go see the Beach Boys.
Oh, okay.
He loves the Beach Boys.
Okay, so this is okay. Here we go. So this is like, which Beach Boys is it?
It doesn't have the one singer songwriter that Justin talks about, so he didn't want to go
Wilson?
because that guy wasn't going to be there. But
Brian Wilson, probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's that whole argument, right? People say Brian Wilson is the Beach Boys, which I kind of hold to that too. And there's a lot of because Mike Love is like the other singer that's like, and there's all that controversy with like, he's still using the Beach Boys name, even though he shouldn't be. And, there's all that kind of stuff. But we saw a couple of years back, we went about an hour from here and saw Brian Wilson play. And they did the whole Pet Sounds album from beginning to end. And then they did a bunch of other hits too. And they had a bunch of, he had a couple of the original Beach Boys with him on stage too. Mike Love wasn't there. I mean, that's the main beef, right? Is Mike Love and Brian Wilson. Those are the ones that, they just don't get along anymore. But that's cool. I mean, I mean, the Beach Boys are just, I mean, that's a band I got into like later in life, I think probably maybe 10 years ago, because I was always a Beatles guy. And it was a friend of mine at work was talking to me about how there was a rivalry between the Beatles and the Beach Boys. I'm thinking, what? I mean, that's not even really the same kind of music. Like, what in the world are you talking about? And so I started reading into that because I love that kind of stuff, reading about, band biographies and how they came about. And I started reading about how, like, I want to say, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I want to say like Brian Wilson said there would have never been a Pet Sounds if it wasn't for Revolver from the Beatles. And Paul McCartney said there never would have been a Sgt. Pepper if it wasn't for Pet Sounds. Right. So like they were kind of trying to compete with each other as far as their changing in their sound as they went into this more psychedelic rock and stuff that, and originally the Beach Boys were upset because they felt like they were America's band. And then the Beatles came over here and the whole Beatlemania thing happened. And it was like, there was like Beach Boys who, it's like, it's all about the Beatles now. Right. So they just kind of fell off, but well, that's awesome. That's really cool. That's going to be a good show, I bet. And that's close to you or?
Yeah, it's in Spokane, so it's at one of the casinos. And then the last concert I just went to, I took Justin, and we seen Shinedown and 3 Days of Grace. Now that was great.
Okay, so Shinedown I've heard a lot of their songs because my cousin is a huge fan. Like he's a huge fan. He's been trying to get me into them for years, and I like it. But it's not like, I have to buy everything that they have. But, but he's still trying to get me in. So, I mean, where's that show at? Is that in Washington?
Yeah, that was in Washington. We already went to that one.
Oh, it already happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that Spokane also?
Yes.
Okay.
They have a lot of concerts there. Because really here, I mean, they do have concerts, but they have to be at like the casino or something,
Right. You have to have a good venue.
There's really not anywhere to do it unless like, they have little bands that come in town during the summer on Fridays here in St. Mary's, and it's the summer series concerts. And they're all free. You just get to sit down there and listen to music. Like last night, we went down and we listened to the band called Whackamole.
Oh, that's a cool name.
It is. And they are phenomenally good. I even got the singer's phone number. Like she gave me her number so that I could keep in contact with her. So if I wanted them to like do something like a performance, we could schedule something. They're amazing.
Are they like a local band or?
Yeah, they're from Spokane.
Okay.
But she didn't even realize how many people knew of them until I talked to her. I was like, girl, you got to give yourself more credit than what you are because there is people from everywhere here to see you. I said, I was just at the gas station and there was a family there talking about Whack-A-Mole going to be in the park, and they're from like Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls area. So people are traveling from there here to see you.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like, honey, you're better than what you think you are.
Right. But isn't that kind of an endearing quality, though, when somebody's humble about it? Because you never want to get that person that's like, oh, we're the best band the world's ever seen. Just like, what? Yeah. Are they like, what kind of music are they? Are they?
They just sing songs like that were already songs from other bands.
Oh, they're like a cover band. Okay.
Yeah, they're like a cover band, but they're so good. And the way they do it is they'll start like yesterday, they started a song. They ended up hashing 4 songs into one. And all of a sudden they change and go to another song, and then change, go to another song. So they did 4 songs in one thing. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, when they do like a medley like that. Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
And
so
then,
you guys go to a lot of concerts. I was going to say you're big on concerts.
Oh yeah, if I can afford them.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of them. There's been some that I really wanted to go, but I'm not going to spend $200 a ticket.
No, that's insane. And I mean, and the sad thing is, a lot of the bands, they don't want that, and they don't really have any control over that. And I know there's been, there was that whole thing with Pearl Jam and Ticketmaster back in the 90s where they're just like, you know what, screw it. We're not going to do this anymore. We don't want our fans to have to pay millions of dollars to come see us live. This is ridiculous, because there's all this cover charges and all this stuff. It's like, it's not like the band gets any of that money anyway, you know? So it's just, So, but do you think you could pick like a favorite concert you've ever been to, or is that too hard?
Jeez. I would have to say, out of all the concerts, my favorite was definitely the Eagles.
Okay.
I mean, They came out. They were so freaking cool. They're like, hey, I hope you guys don't mind, but we're going to sit here and jam out for 3 hours. So
and
that's what's going down.
Yeah. But when you have a catalog that big, I mean, you got so many hit songs, you almost have to spend 3 hours. Otherwise you're going to have somebody upset that you didn't play their favorite song, or whatever.
And it's cool because you're sitting there, you're listening to them, and I knew every single song they were singing, so it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. And what year was this?
Oh gosh.
Was this the one when you were pregnant with your daughter, or was that a different one?
Oh no, that was Keith Urban.
That was Keith Urban. That's right. Okay.
Oh gosh, it probably was. Maybe either 6 or 8 years ago. I can't really remember. It's been a while.
Okay, so still pretty late though. I mean, so were most of the members there? Was like Don Henley and Glenn Frey both singing, or?
They had Vince Gill. I think he
playing
was
with
the
them?
singer. Vince Gill.
He was singing for the Eagles?
Yes, and then the singer had passed away.
Glenn
from
Frey.
The Eagles.
Right.
And but his son was there playing guitar, and it was Vince Gill singing.
Weird. Okay, but
he did so good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I to be honest with you, had I heard that, I probably wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, but he did phenomenal. He sounded just like him. I mean, they did great.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess I haven't really followed them. I don't know. I mean, I knew Glenn Frey had passed away. I don't remember how long ago that was. Obviously, it was before you saw them. But then I know like Don Henley was the drummer, and he did a lot of the vocals too. But I don't even know if he's still in the band or not. Like maybe not if they got Vince Gill to do the vocals, because you think they just would have had Don Henley do them, But that's interesting. I'll have to look into that a little more.
Yeah. I want to say that's who it was, but don't quote me on it. I mean, I could be wrong, but
yeah. Well, unfortunately, this podcast doesn't have as many listeners as like Joe Rogan, so you're not going to, there's not going to be that many people that are be like, "Hey, she's totally wrong there."
Well, if I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to lose a night's sleep over it.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. So, what about This is kind of a more deep question, but like what's, if you could name a band or an artist that's influenced you more than anything else in your life, like it's actually made an impact in your life beyond just I like that song or I like that band, but I'm like it actually meant something really personal to you.
I would have to say the one that's the most recent would be the Revivalist Soul Fight.
That's one band?
Yes. Well, the song Soul Fight.
Oh, by Revivalist.
Revivalist is the band.
I've never heard of this band.
Oh my goodness.
Revivalist.
I will send you a link.
Yeah, please do.
I freaking love that song, and I like a lot of their songs, but that is the one that I really liked.
Okay. And what was the name of the song?
Soul Fight.
Like soul? Fight?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. How is that a newer band, or they've been around for a long time, or are they?
They have, I don't know. Justin's actually the one that turned me on to them, really.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even know they existed until
Okay.
he's like, he played that song, Wish I Knew You.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I actually wrote the lyrics to this song and then they stole it. And I was like, well, they really made it sound good, so I wouldn't be mad about it.
Who said they stole the lyrics? Justin?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there's some personal beef here with Justin in this band, huh?
No, he's happy about it. He says it's fine, so let's see.
I'd be wanting to get paid royalties or something.
Huh?
I said I don't want to get paid some kind of royalties or something if somebody stole my lyrics and made it a hit song, you know?
Yeah. There you go. I just sent you the song.
Cool. I'll check it out. It's awesome. Very, very cool. So what about the song had such an impact on you personally? Was it the lyrics, or is it?
It was the lyrics. And yeah, it was definitely the lyrics. It was about, drinking and it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It just, it
well,
that's
it
cool. Didn't like change my life, but I could relate to it. I was like, holy cow, I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that's like the case a lot of times. I think when people, this really impacted me, and say, well, explain that. And a lot of times it's like, I can't. It's just the way, it just made me feel a certain way, or it just hit me a certain way. And
you
I
just
think that's
have
awesome.
to listen to the song, and maybe you would be like, wow, I feel this.
Right.
So that's all I know is I feel that. So
well, that's what's cool too. Like I could have a song like that and show it to you, and be like, dude, this song doesn't do anything for me. What do you? It's like it's usually unique to the person.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that my wife and I are very different when it comes to musical taste. And there can be some songs I'm like, this is the most important song that's ever been written in the history of the world. It's the greatest song ever. And she'll listen to it, go, this is horrible. It's actually just like, this is awful.
I know another one. I got it, and it is a rocker song, and it is I'm looking it up. I know the band. It's Falling in Reverse.
Oh, okay. That's a band I just recently got into because my son turned me on to it.
Really?
Yeah, and then he's like, dude, these guys have been around for a long time. I was like, I've never heard of them. And he was even telling about the singer. I forgot the singer's name.
Oh, I don't know. He's coming to concert too.
Just on his own?
Yes.
Or with the band? Oh, okay.
Oh, Popular Monster.
That's the song?
Oh my God. That song's about depression. And it is a very good one. Very, very good one. I'll send you that one too.
Okay, cool.
That one really, and there was times when I was going through some hard, I was going through some crap, having a really hard time in my life. And then I heard that song and I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, there's a part on there that's kind of, he's like, something, where's your God now? And I was scared because I really like this song, but there's times in my life when I was like, where is God? Where are you?
Yeah.
And I have friends that just recently have lost their children. And I'd be right there too, being like, God, where were you? Why didn't you protect my child? Where were you?
Right.
So
and I think that when Christians will try to, or anybody that believes in God really, will try to deny those things and say, oh no, I've never been to that place before. I think they're lying. I think they're just like, they feel like that if they're honest about that, it somehow makes them less of a believer or something. Like, it's like, no, this is what we all struggle with. We don't always feel the presence of God 24/7. And we always feel, sometimes it's like, I'm alone. Yeah. Where are you?
And I've been there, and it's not that I don't believe, but hey, I have, to be honest, I have asked, hey, where are you?
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Right.
So,
yeah. I think we all have, it's it's normal. And we're definitely going to get into some of that stuff when we get into the spiritual side of it. I'm writing that down so I don't forget. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So
I sent it to you in text too.
Okay, cool.
But I was surprised because that Justin and I'll never forget the day that came on, and I about had a heart attack because I thought Justin's going to hate the song. Justin, oh my God. And I was like, oh, I love this song. We're sitting there at the car wash, and I was like, oh, wait, no, I'm not going to play this. And Justin's like, why? I was like, because, we are still getting to know each other, and I knew he was religious, and this is definitely not a religious song,
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, oh my gosh. No, I don't want to play you this song, because I thought maybe he would be like, oh, that's a horrible song. He's like, let me hear it. And I was like, are you sure? Because I was like, I don't know. And he's all like, go ahead. I want to hear it. So I played it. And to my surprise, he's like, wow, I do like that song. That's a good song. And I was like, whoa, really?
Yeah. Yeah. He thought he was going to burst into flames or something and grow like little horns with a pitchfork and the whole deal,
Uh-huh. Or he thought I was,
Yeah, right. He's starting to think twice. Okay, I got.
Do I really want to get mixed up with this chick?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the Falling in Reverse song you're talking about?
Yes.
The Popular Monster? Okay.
Popular Monster.
Very cool. So what would you say is the most recent time that you've gotten so into a band or an artist that you just felt like you had to buy everything that they put out? Like something new, or The
Revivalist.
Okay, so that's kind of a new one for you.
I started just downloading their music. I'm looking for their albums,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really like them. I like the way they sound, and they're kind of like a bluesy, jazzy feeling, kind of mellow.
Okay.
So I like all kinds of music. I'm not all rock, but and I love the blues. In fact, there's a blues fest coming up July 9th in Wallace, and I really want to go to it. And it's just the entire town of Wallace is going to be one big giant stage with all these different blues bands.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think it'd be fun.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I don't mind blues, but it's definitely not something I'm real familiar with, and I listen to a lot. And I could go to that fest you're talking about, and I probably would know any names. I'd be like, who's that? I have no clue.
Well, I'm not going to know anything either, but I mean, I'll know whether or not I like their music. Right. That's about it.
Right. Exactly. That's awesome. So that Revivalist is it a local band, or is this
No.
It's not? Okay. It's just some obscure band that Justin found.
Uh-huh.
And then, boy, I'd love to hear the lyrics story there. What did he post lyrics online and he feels like they saw him? And then, okay, interesting.
That's what he said. He said he posted it online. They seen him and they took his lyrics and then they made a song.
Wow.
And he only had a portion of his lyrics, but they added to it and they made this fantastic song. And the song that I'm talking about is the Wish I Knew You.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that Justin said they stole his lyrics.
Wish I Knew You. Okay, nice. Well, I know he writes lyrics and stuff, and he's got, some of those songs. I'm sure he showed you some of that stuff we used to play, like No Turning Back.
Yeah.
And that some of the lyrics in that, to me, is just some of the best stuff ever. It's just so spiritually penetrating and deep, much more than you hear on Christian radio. It's all about hallelujah, God is great, he's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's the songs that we were, not me, I didn't do any writing. I was just playing bass, but mainly Justin and Kevin were doing the lyrics, and some of those songs were just man, this is what it's about. This is the real deal,
Yeah, the songs he played me, I was like, holy cow, I really like that. And he was supposed to give me a CD. We've been married for over a year and I still don't have that CD.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I might be a little upset about that.
Yeah. Which one is it? Which one is he?
I don't know. He said that he would give me a CD and I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, it's probably, he had that kind of quote unquote official thing, but that was mostly his instrumental stuff that he did, which is also really cool. Mm-hmm. But then we had a bunch of just basically demo stuff that we recorded in his little studio thing just during
I bet that's
practice.
What it is.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of those. There's probably a good 10, 11 songs I think that we had come out of that are pretty cool.
Because what he played me was a band, you know, it's a whole band together. It wasn't just him. So it would have been all of you guys.
Yeah, that's what it is then. Yeah, that's cool. See, I have that on CD too, but it's only because I think because I ripped some of the MP3s that were on there. Oh my gosh, this is really funny too. I'll tell you this story because I don't know if Justin's told you. So he used to send us, he may have told you this, I don't know, but I love this. I still have the audio file. But he used to send us the band practice, like say, okay, listen, where can we improve? Where can we do this kind of thing? And he'd send the recordings of it. Well, this one time he sends us all this email with this sound file, and it says, hey, just on a whim, I decided to play this backwards, you know, just to see, you know, what it was. And then he had put his voice over it saying, eat a big juicy steak. Eat steak, you know, saying like as the whole music is going like because it's going backwards, right? But you hear this like subliminal message, you know, as they go eat steak, you know. I was like, oh my gosh, I was dying, laughing so hard, and I still have it. I still have that audio clip. So funny. But anyway, yeah, those were fun times. I enjoyed that. It's the only time I've really ever played in a band, other than I played bass for the worship team at the church I used to be at, but. Other than that was fun times playing just these songs that these guys had actually written, you know, and like I said, they were so deep to me, some of the lyrics and stuff. Most of the ones Justin wrote were the ones that, you know, because him and I were and still are very like-minded when it comes to spirituality and that kind of thing. So, all right. So lastly, in the music section, could you name your top 5 favorite bands, artists? That's really hard. I couldn't do it. I don't know why I always ask people this question because I don't think I could do it myself.
I like Aerosmith, even though I don't really care for Steven Tyler as a person.
Okay.
But I do love his music. In fact, I bought tickets it was not a long time ago. Everything to me is a long time ago. But it had to have been maybe 3 years ago. And I literally went to Vegas by myself and was going to go watch Aerosmith. And then I'm waiting 3 hours before the concert was supposed to happen. They canceled.
Oh, no way. And you're coming all the way from Idaho to Vegas?
Yep, I flew there.
Oh, no.
And I remember I was like, oh, my gosh, I was so depressed. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I literally stayed the night in the airport that night and then took off the next day.
It's horrible. I know. Did they ever give a reason why they were canceling?
Yeah, his voice went out or something. So, but he is famous for that, I found out, because there was like other concerts he scheduled and he canceled. And then I seen just recently that they're going to go around again, but they're not even coming near. I mean, if they would have went to Vegas again, I'd probably go and buy tickets again and try to see them. Right. I did get refunded my money, but still, it's just,
man. Who cares, right? I mean, at that point, you're like, I don't care about the money. I just wanted to see the show.
Exactly. Because it's on my bucket list. I mean, that is one of my items. I love Aerosmith.
Yeah.
And then I like, and it's funny because Justin and I were just talking about this, but I would love to see AC/DC.
Nice. All right, Bon Scott or Brian Johnson? That's the big question.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Because I'm not that familiar. I just like their songs. Okay. I mean, I'm not really into the name. I couldn't even tell you the name of the band members, you know, but.
Yeah, because a lot of people argue over that. And I personally, I think they both sound very similar, and I think they're both awesome. I can listen to AC/DC back when Bon Scott was still a singer. And then, you know, I think they purposely probably picked a guy that sounded very similar, you know, so it's all awesome. It's still good. And I think some of their best songwriting came out after Brian Johnson joined. So. But I'd love to see AC/DC someday too.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. And then I had a chance, and I still kick myself in the butt. I had a chance to buy freaking tickets, and I would have had to drive to Seattle, but it would have been worth it. And I would have seen Motley Crue and Def Leppard together.
Oh, wow.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, why? Why are you so stupid? That, and I know all these people that I work with that literally drove the 5 hours over there and seen the concert, and they came back saying, "Oh my gosh, it was the best concert I've ever been to." I was like, I knew I was going to regret that.
Yeah. Why did you not go? What was the reason?
I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Do you really want to see them? And then I was like, and it was like $500, and it was for 2 tickets or 4 tickets. I can't remember. Somebody had bought tickets and they couldn't go, so they were selling their tickets online.
Oh, okay.
And because there was no refund, and I was like seriously thinking about. But at the time, I was also single. So it's like, who do you take with you? And I don't want some dude that thinks he's going to get laid coming with me, because
right, exactly. Right.
It's like, no.
Yeah, not worth it.
I don't know if Justin ever told you this, but when him and I first met, I was literally done. I don't like relationships. I am the person that I could be single and I would be just fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't like dealing with the drama, the all the stuff. And I've been in some bad relationships.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably why you've probably been through the ringer, and you're like, you're just fed up. You're like, I'm done with this,
Yeah. And I told Justin, I was like, this is it, this is it. If it doesn't work out with us, I'm staying single for the rest of my life, because I'll never do this again. I was like, I will never do this again. In fact, when Justin and I got engaged and my family found out, literally, they started blowing up my phone like, "Terri, whoa, wait a minute. Is this some kind of joke?"
Yeah.
They could not believe that I was engaged to get married. They're like, we did not ever see you getting married again.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I know. They're like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
They literally thought something was wrong with me, because my family, they knew what I've been through, and they're like, "Yeah, we get it."
Right, right.
Some of the best times I've ever had was when I was single.
Right, right. But I mean, from an outsider perspective, and obviously, like I said at the beginning, I hardly know you at all, but just from what I do know, and knowing Justin as long as I have, and seeing him going through all the things he's been going through and all that kind of stuff, and it seems to me like, and I told him this, that you guys get each other in a way that I said, dude, you have found, like, I mean, because he's got a very unique sense of humor that a lot of people, it sets off, and I think he's funny. We laugh together and stuff, but I know a lot of people have been irritated. "Oh, this guy thinks he's funny," whatever, But I listen to you guys together, and I'm like, and you watching your Facebook banter and stuff. It's like, you guys are like perfect for each other. Like, I mean, it's like this match made in heaven. It's like, and I told him, I said, "Dude, you finally found your person." And he said, "I know, it's great."
And that's the way I feel too. Is like, I finally found my person, but for some reason, and he puts up with a lot of crap.
Right.
I mean, I will admit that I have thrown things at him, like, because I guess in my mind, I maybe was testing him to see if he was going to leave. And he stuck around, and then of course, I feel bad and have to apologize and actually admit that I might be wrong. Right. So
might be wrong. Right.
Might be.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So we got Aerosmith, we got AC/DC, and what was the third?
Motley Crue, Leppard. I wouldn't mind seeing them.
Okay.
So there's 4.
Yeah. And they're all kind of in the same vein. It's kind of interesting. They're all kind of that like 70s and 80s kind of rock bands, Yeah.
I'm more of an 80s rocker. I love the 80s music.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, geez. I'm trying to think. I said Motley Crue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that movie, The Dirt?
No.
You have got to watch that. It's literally
a
movie on how Motley Crue became Motley Crue.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
The Dirt.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check
Don't
that out.
let kids watch it, but it's
No. Yeah, well, I could anything about Motley Crue, I'm pretty sure is not kid friendly. So.
Yeah, but it's great. It's really good. I love that movie. It's not kid friendly, but it is a good movie. And
how long ago did it come out? Is it older?
Huh?
Is it an older movie or is it recent?
It's older now.
Okay.
To me, it was new, but I guess it'd been out for a while.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just even seeing some of the things that I know, hearing about some of the things that like Tommy Lee, it's like I know they're obviously they have a reputation for being a wild bunch,
Well, this movie shows it.
Nice.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
But
That's
they're
awesome.
young and, people, we all do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
how we
the
get
thing,
wise. We learn from our stupidity. Well,
Right.
some of us,
Yeah. Well, that's why I always say, like, right. And that's the hard part. Like, you go through those times and it can be a good thing because if you go off on the other side, you might be a better person on the other side of it.
Mhm.
But some people don't live through those circumstances, right? Like they do something really stupid and then they're off, they're gone. And then, so it's like, that's what's always hard about like raising children. Cause it's always like, I want them to experience things and grow and learn. And sometimes they have to learn the hard way. But at the same time, that's kind of a scary time because some kids learn the hard way all the way to death, and it's like, that's, you never want that phone call either, so
and that
it's
scares
difficult.
me so much. And a little personal part about me is my mom and I never had a good relationship. I real honestly believe that my mother hated me when I was little or growing up all through life. So, and she always put men above her kids. So when I became a mother, because she wasn't really around, my uncle raised me more than she did. So I didn't know how to be a mom. And all I knew by raising my kids, and I still do to this day, is I know what I don't want to be.
Right.
And I know what I don't want to do. So what she did, I have in this memory, and I've had to forgive her. And we are on talking terms again. But far as me visually seeing her, I don't want to.
Right.
There's
How long has it been since you've seen her personally, like in person?
A long time.
Like 10, 20 years?
Probably about, I'd say 12 maybe.
Okay.
So, and I just don't want to see her.
Yeah.
And when I go and see my family in Nampa, they know, because she'll go over to their house or whatever, but they knew that she was the one person to not know that I was there. Okay. So, because I didn't want to see her, I didn't want her coming over.
And do you have siblings?
I do. I have, I have actually 6 brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
No sisters?
No sisters.
So you were her
and
only
I'm the
daughter.
oldest.
Okay.
So what happened is, my mom, she had 3 of us, which, I kind of told you the history about my mom and men. So all 3 of us have different dads. And then my dad, he got married, kind of a shotgun wedding.
Okay.
And he had my brother Tony when I would have been like 2 years old. So Tony and I are 2 years apart. And then they got divorced and he took her to court and got custody. So he raised my brother Tony. And then he got married to Denise, my stepmom, and he had 3 more boys by her.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I ended up with 6 brothers.
Dang.
And my mom and I, the last time we seen each other in our big fight was, I told her that I was planning on seeing my dad and my brothers. And she popped off and said, "Those aren't your brothers. I didn't give birth to them."
Oh, boy.
And her and I were freaking at each other's throat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And then she just says stupid crap. She is careful now because I think she finally learned. She would try to tell me how to raise my kids. And I would tell her, "You have no right telling me anything about how to raise my kids when you didn't even raise us."
Right.
So I was like, "Your opinion's void." I was like, "Don't even talk to me about raising kids." And there for a long time, she didn't even know my kids' names. And she could see them. anytime she wants.
Mm-hmm.
I would never hold her grandkids away from her. I'm not that person. It doesn't matter. Even if I don't like you and you want to see your grandkids, I will let you. I don't have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But of course she could see them. She's never even asked.
Oh, really?
She's a very selfish person.
Yeah. Is she in the area? Is she close to you in geography or?
She's in Oregon. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your two brothers that were biologically hers as well, are they still close with her or no?
No. Okay. Well, Justin, I think he talks to her, but he was taken away from her. His dad took her to court and got custody. So he raised him. And so then it was just my brother Scott and I. And our big thing growing up is neither one of us knew our dads because she refused to tell us. I finally met my dad when I was 28 years old.
That's hard. Wow.
And she would just tell us, she would lie to us all of our lives. She lied to my brother Scott. She lied to me, told us our dads would never claim us. They hated us. They wouldn't want anything to do with us. My dad is so awesome.
Yeah. You have a good relationship with him today?
I have a wonderful relationship with him.
Nice.
And my brothers, they are and he loves me. So all this stuff, came out and we found out that she lied to us all of our lives.
Right.
And then my brother Scott, he found his dad through a DNA test. Yeah. And he mailed it in. And then he actually went and met his biological father and realized, wow, this guy's really cool. And he does want me.
Right.
I was
going to say there's probably some resentment there, obviously, because now that you know that love from your dad starting at 28.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of an impact would that have had on you to have known that from when you were 5 years old or 10 years old or, you know what I mean? Like growing up to have that, and that's difficult.
Well, my mom was working over at Albertsons in Nampa in the deli, and his mom went in there, and actually my dad's mom, so my grandma, went in there and she recognized my mom, and they knew that she had a daughter. They asked her if they could see me, and she told them no.
Oh.
So, yeah, there's a lot of resentment. There's resentment from me. There's resentment from Scott. My brother Scott hardly talks to her at all. Like he literally just completely cut her out of his life for years. He's just now starting to kind of talk to her like I am. Yeah. But she just destroyed our relationship. Right. She did. And it's her fault. She did it.
Does she acknowledge that at this point, or is she still she's still kind of in denial? But you guys are on talking terms somewhat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot, but we talk here and there. And we don't talk for very long. I don't get into detail with her about my life. She probably couldn't tell you anything about me at this point, because she doesn't know, because I don't tell her, because as far as I'm concerned, she doesn't need to know.
Right. Right. It's probably hard to let her back in after all that,
Yeah. And I don't want to be honest. I don't want to.
Right.
So,
but if you could go back in time and you could orchestrate things, like let's say you were God and you could plan things a little differently, you probably would make it to where you and her did have a good relationship, right? Growing up.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just like looking at it now from the past, you're like, no, I don't want that because of everything that has happened, but yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I actually moved out, and what happened is I talked her into enrolling me into Job Corps.
Oh, wow.
And so she got me enlisted in there and signed me up. And within 3 months, I went AWOL, and I took off and went to Oregon, and I didn't come back to Idaho until I was almost 19, because I knew she couldn't make me stay with her. So I left and went to another state for a couple of years before I came back.
And did you have anybody in Oregon, or did you just go start fresh?
No, I had a boyfriend over there. So I stayed with him and worked and, but then things didn't work out with him and I. And I just moved back to Idaho, but thankfully I was of age, so she couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she would have anyways, because it's not like she was looking for me when I was gone. So
Right.
Because I stayed in contact with my aunt and uncle.
Mm-hmm.
They knew where I was at, you know. I've always stayed in contact with him.
Yeah.
Because he was more my parent.
Right. And he was probably in contact with your mom, at least just to let her know you were okay, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's good. So, all right.
Kind of a weird life that Justin gets paired up with this woman.
Yeah. Well, he hasn't had the most normal time of things either. So, I mean, you guys can probably, help each other with that kind of deal, but.
Yeah, we can relate to each other. So.
Right. Exactly. So, but now we're going to move on to politics. So if you're ready to jump in there, I know. So it's
about this?
Well, so it's right. It's there's two kinds, right? When I say that, it could mean one of two things, and I'm fine talking about it either way. So like it can either mean a person's into politics as far as who's the president, who's the governor, what are the laws of the land, what are the kind of the more legislative, like government part of politics. Then there's just basically what's going on in our world. What kind of things am I passionate about? What things do I watch the news and I just get angry because I'm like, I cannot believe, most people fall in that category.
That's
to where it's
where
more
I
like,
would fall in.
you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, because people say, right, exactly. And people say, well, I'm not very political. And I'll just say, well, I mean, what kind of things really bother you about our world today? Like what kind of things, and it relates to politics, because a lot of times it's, I can't believe this law just passed. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and that is technically political, really. But it's those things where it affects our own personal lives and the lives of our children and the lives of those we love. And you're like, I can't believe this is happening. And, I mean, you guys probably have a lot less of that in Idaho than we do in California. But, it's
Idaho, we're a little more dangerous over here.
Yeah. But in a good way, right? I mean, I got friends that it's funny, I'll say this just because, I don't know how this will be taken, but my friend that moved up there, he's very conservative. And he goes, dude, it's the weirdest thing, man. I moved up here to Idaho, and he goes, it's the weirdest thing here. They only have 2 genders up here.
Yeah. You know what? That is right.
Which makes you wonder, because I try to put myself in the shoes. Like if I'm transgender and I'm living in a town that's very not real friendly to that, right? You'd think I would move. I would go to the big city. I would go to another state. Go to
Washington.
Maybe.
You're welcome there.
Yeah, right. Go to Seattle, right? Seattle, where that's totally accepted and totally, almost encouraged and everything else. So I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't think, my view on all that is, obviously, and I've said this multiple times, I don't think anybody should be mistreated for who they are, what they believe, even if it's something I disagree with. That too. And that's the thing that I've always said is like, I have no problem with a biological male believing he's a female or vice versa. But it's when you tell me that I have to treat you that way, now you're bringing me into your world, right? And it's a world I don't believe in.
Yeah.
And most people say, well, Ryan, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? I said, well, the big deal is you're asking me to lie. You're asking me to go against what I see as reality. And you're telling me to live in a fairy tale land where whatever people think in their mind is true. And that, to me, that's a scary world, because, you can take, how far can you take that? And I've always used the examples of people say, Ryan, that's so stupid. That's dumb. But I'll say like, well, and I think this is a Ben Shapiro thing, but he's like, can you identify as 65 and go collect a Social Security check? You know, as a 40-year-old, can you walk in and say, yes, I like my Social Security check? Like, your license says you're 40. No, I identify as 65. Exactly. I believe in my mind that I'm a 65-year-old, so you need to give me money. Or
I think a lot of that, Justin brought this up, I think it was the other day, and I think a lot of that could be money. Like, do they get some kind of kickback from the government? I kind of wondered that myself. Like if they say that they are, I don't know. I'd like to consider them mentally disabled, but transgender or something? Is there some kind of program there for them? I mean,
obviously,
like
government assistance because of that. Okay.
And I wonder if there's money involved. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like Coeur d'Alene schools, and this is really, I don't agree with it at all. They put sandboxes out there in their school for children that identified as cats.
Oh, they actually, in Idaho, they did this?
Yeah.
I've heard of this. I've heard of this, but I wouldn't think a state like Idaho would have something like that.
I just was like, there's a lot of us really, really upset about it.
Right.
And I seen that post that you posted. You accidentally tagged Ryan in it about the Nampa school district.
Oh no, he accidentally tagged me.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was, and it appeared on my page, and I was like, "Wait!" And that's why he said, "Oh, I'm sorry that I didn't mean to tag you." And I was like, "Well, this is an interesting article." So.
I loved it.
Right.
It made me so proud. That is where I'm from, and now they're standing up for it, saying enough is enough.
Right.
We are not teaching this anymore in our school. This is not what we are supposed to do as teachers. Mm-hmm. And so I applaud them. And I agree. You know, if you want to do the transgender thing or identify as blah, 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 whatever, do that at home.
Yeah.
If you're a parent and you're okay with that, then you do that at home. Don't take it to the schools and make these teachers teach our kids that it's okay to do this and you can have a sex change. You can do this. I mean, that's not okay with me. Don't teach my kid that.
Right.
Exactly. Look at what's going on. This is so different from when we were kids. We didn't have any of this stuff.
Right. Right. Well, but we did have imaginations, and we did maybe at some point think we're a cat or a dragon, or I'm going to be a superhero, or I'm going to learn how to fly someday, right? All of that is totally fine. But the difference now is there's adults in the world that are encouraging that as if it's a reality.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you're a cat? Okay, let's make a litter box for you at the school so you can poop in the sandbox because you really are a cat. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, no, that's to me, it's on the adults today that are giving into the delusion. And like I'm saying, as a young child, there's nothing wrong with that delusion. Mm-mm. Kids are supposed to have an imagination. They're supposed to think they're He-Man and running around, and of course they are. But if they're 25 and they still have hopes of being a superhero, then you might like, hey, dude, you need to grow up a little bit, Yeah. But then you have these 40-something, 50-somethings in the school systems that are like, oh, let's encourage this. Mm-hmm. Let's actually change the playground to let's put a scratching post out here and a litter box. And it's like, what is wrong with you people? Like, have you gone insane? Like, it's nuts.
I think this whole world has just gone completely insane. In fact, it makes me worry about my children. Not so much as mine anymore because mine's almost raised.
Right.
But my grandchildren, look at what they're coming into.
Right.
I just feel like at this point, if we don't stop this now, our children might just be doomed. Yeah. I mean, these pedophiles, they got more rights than we do. Mm-hmm. I really feel like that. And that other clip I sent you about the radio show host, the guys, the pedophile suicide.
Yeah.
I think that should be a trend.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get rid of them.
Right. Well, I've had some pretty harsh words for and it's hard for me to say those things because I try to respect people and I try to love people, but there's just some, to me, if you can rape a young child, to me that's you got a special kind of evil that just doesn't exist in most people, because I mean it's just I cannot fathom that. I cannot even fathom even attempting something like that, Wow. And when I hear those people, it's like, oh my gosh, you guys are the worst. Like it's horrible.
They're stealing their innocence.
Right.
I mean, leave our kids alone.
Right.
Leave them alone.
Right.
They don't deserve this. And then these people are doing it. They're getting away with it. I mean, I feel like our government is I mean, look at the transgender person he's got up there. What is wrong?
Who are you talking about, like Rachel Levine or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever it is. I don't know if it's a male, female, what it looks like a freaking circus clown to me.
Well, he was in Congress, I believe, already as a male at one point, because if we're talking about the same person, he's biologically born as a male and then transitioned, now identifies as a female and goes by Rachel. I forgot what his real name was to begin with.
And why would you have someone like that in government? Right there shows that there's something not right up here.
Right.
So, let's put this guy in our office. No. Right. Let's not. And then I don't know if we're talking about the same person. That person was in charge of the school board, whatever. I'm
not maybe. I'm not entirely sure on that. But it might be somebody different then. Yeah, because I know Rachel Levine is actually in Congress. I'm not sure how much you might be thinking of someone else. Oh, I might have misnamed the person there. but yeah, so there's somebody in charge of the school system that's pushing those kind of ideologies on the kids. And so let's say they came in and very obviously transgender, like you can tell, right? You can tell this is, or let's say they're even open with you. They even tell you. Yes, Terry, I was born biologically male, but I identify as a woman. So I'd prefer if you refer to me as her and she, that kind of deal. And let's say there was no bathroom problem at all. Let's say that there was a transgender bathroom, or there was that was never an issue for you. I know you already mentioned that would be an issue if they came in with you. But let's say that's not an issue at all. Are you able to work with this person and possibly even befriend this person and get along with them? Or is just the fact that they're transgender enough to kind of shut you down and not even, you don't even want to go there?
I don't know. I mean, I have friends. I mean, I got friends that are lesbian and I have friends that are gay, and I don't have a problem with them, but they don't push their stuff on me. Right. If you just keep it to yourself and don't talk to me about it and don't get me involved in it, we can get along. Okay. But don't push that on me. Definitely don't push it on my children.
Right. That's a different, I was going to go there next, because that's definitely a different topic. But I mean, so do you feel that way just with the transgender community, or you said you have gay friends, but do you mind if your gay friends talk to you about their sexuality?
No, they don't talk to me about it because they know I don't want to.
So you just basically tell them, look, I love you, you're my friend, but I don't want to hear about your sex life. I don't want to hear about Okay.
And I have had that talk with them.
Okay.
And I'm like, you are who you are. That's fine. Right. But you need to know that this is where I draw the line. I don't necessarily agree with your lifestyle and what you do, but I'm not in charge of your life. You are. Right. So, as long as they just keep it to themselves.
Yeah. If you, let's say, I don't know if you would do this or not, but if you were, let's say you had a really close girlfriend who was lesbian, and you were having, again, I'm just throwing all this out there, but let's say you were having some kind of sexual problem in your marriage or whatever, right? And you went to your girlfriend and you were talking to her about that, and she said to you, hey, you know what? I'm lesbian. I don't want to hear about your heterosexual life. Just don't talk to me about this. Would you be open to that? And would you be
fine with that?
You wouldn't be offended by that?
Of course I would be fine. I mean, I would respect her wishes just like she would mine. So
Okay. Cool. So as I was saying a minute ago, I think there's a big difference for me personally with the transgender ideology when we're dealing with adults versus when we're dealing with children. And one of the things all the things are going on in the news right now. You got places like Tennessee and some of these other, like you just said, in Idaho, some of these other states that are passing laws that say you cannot surgically transition minors. You cannot use puberty blockers on minors, right?
I'm glad I wish they would do that in more states.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think a lot of people are, even a lot of people in the transgender community are with us there. They say, no, this is, I've seen interviews by transgender people where they're like, look, this is how I live as an adult, but those kids are too young to be making that decision. And then you look at statistics where a lot of these kids that are making this decision at 12 or 13, by the time they're 19 and 20, they have left that whole thing behind. No different than all the phases that we may go through as kids. Like, I mean, I believed a lot of things when I was 12 that I don't believe anymore. And I'm glad I didn't do anything, permanently life altering during that time. It's like, this is a dumb example, but I always use the example of like tattoos, right? I always tell my kids, like my older son has now gotten a tattoo and he's wanting to get more and all this stuff. And I always say, don't get anything that you're not 100% sure you're always going to want. Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't ever get a girl's name because as soon as you guys break up, it's like, whatever. Don't even get your favorite band because for all you know, 10 years from now, it's going to come out that the lead singer raped 20 women and then you're going to hate that band and you're going to have their logo on your arm or something. It's like, just don't go there. Like, I think things like your kids' names, I think are safe because it's like, you're always going to love your kids no matter what. They're always going to be a part of your, it's always going to be there. So it just, even something like that with tattoos, I wouldn't even say you're 12, you're 13. There's a reason why you can't get a tattoo till you're 18, right? They don't let 12-year-olds go into the tattoo parlor and be like, all right, put something right there. They just don't because they're not old enough to make that decision. They can't drink a beer until they're 21 yet.
Yeah, but we all know better than that.
Yeah. Right, but I mean, talking like legally, but these people are still legally pushing this idea that, but at 12 or 13, they can decide what gender they are.
Yeah, that's not
to
right.
the point that we're going to give them puberty blockers in order to stop them from, developing as a woman or developing as a man. We're going to stop that in its tracks because they've decided that they are not the gender they were born as, and it's just like, whoa, so I guess the point I'm making is, I look at the transgender community, and on one hand, I can say, do I agree with that ideology? I don't. I don't at all. I don't agree with it. But I also support their right to live that way if they choose to do so, right? And I will.
If they're an adult.
If they're adults, that's my point, right? If they're adults, I will respect them. I will love them. I can be friends with them. I can talk to them, no problem. But if they start trying to say, if anybody tries to say, I don't care what their own belief is, but if they start trying to say, no, we can do this to kids. That's where I'm like, okay, but then all this stuff's happening in other states. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, these are anti-trans bills, anti-trans. No, it's not anti-trans. It's anti-doing this to children, right? It's like the drag time story hours, right? And everybody's like, oh, it's anti-drag. Everybody's anti-drag. It's like, no, drag's been around for years and years and years. Nobody's been attacking drag.
When I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, right. And nobody's really been attacking it until recently. Why? Because now they're involving children.
Exactly.
They're doing story hours. They're showing all those videos are coming out of these kids at drag shows. That's what we have a problem with, right? If you want to dress like a woman and dance around on stage as a living, hey, that's up to you. I support your right to do so. This is America. You have the right to do that, but you don't have the right to expose a 12-year-old to that.
Exactly.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's two totally different things in my opinion. So
and I agree wholeheartedly with you there. I mean, I got a story. My daughter, she was younger, and this is a good example because kids go through phases. We all go through phases,
right?
Anyways, my daughter comes up to me, and this is like Christmas in St. Mary's, and it had to have been 5, maybe 6 years ago because it was before she got with Tim. But she comes walking up to me, and she's holding this other girl's hand. Yeah. And she's like, Mom, I just want you to know that I am a lesbian now, and this is my girlfriend.
Wow.
And I looked at her, and I just busted up laughing. Nice. And that might have irritated her a little bit. But
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
I said, how could you possibly think that you are a lesbian? She goes, well, she's my girlfriend and I love her. And I said, well, there's nothing wrong with having female friends that you love. I mean, I love some of my girlfriends too, but it doesn't make me a lesbian.
Right.
I said, and you've never even had a boyfriend. So how do you know? And she's like, whatever. And then before that didn't last very long. And now she has a boyfriend that she lives with. Her and Tim have been together for over 4 years, But
nice.
it was funny. That's the perfect example of kids really don't know.
Right.
They're going to go through these phases. My 17-year-old son, he's still kind of wishy-washy about what he wants to do with his life. I mean, he's been talking about enlisting for the Marines, but then he changes and wants to be welding, and then he wants to mechanic, and he wants to do this and that. Kids don't know. He is still trying to figure out his life.
Yeah.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly about the transgender and our kids. They don't know, and they should never even have that option.
Right.
Because that's life altering.
Right.
That's something you don't get to come back from.
Right.
So I agree with you 100%. They just need to leave our children alone. Like, if you want to live your life like that and you want to do whatever it is that you do, fine. But don't touch our kids.
Right.
And don't push that on them.
Right. Right. So how old was your daughter when she made that proclamation to you? Was she like young, like 10 or 11, or was she?
Oh, no. She was probably 12 or 13, you know, right in that area.
Pretty young, though, junior high age.
And they're still figuring out, you know, things. And
Yeah.
her friend thought she was a lesbian, too. And her friend's not a lesbian to this day.
Right, right.
But
so when you talk to your daughter now and you bring up that story, what does she say, oh yeah, I was being dumb, or I didn't know what I was saying, or does she still hold that she was at one point and now she's not anymore, or what? Like, how does she view that?
She's like, yeah, well, she told me, I did bring it up to her, and she's like, yeah, that was just like one of those phases in my life.
Right, right. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And I think that's what we go through, right? I mean, we all go through those phases of wanting to be accepted. And, you know, depending on what era you're growing up in, there's things that seem to draw more attention or are more celebrated. So it's like we all go through those phases. We want to be popular. We want people to like us. We want to draw attention. And, you know, even back in the day, it used to take, it still does sometimes, but I mean, it would take like drastic measure. Like kids would be doing crazy things and getting arrested and stuff just so people would say, oh, did you see John got arrested? Oh, man. So now everybody's talking about it. And he's like, okay, this is how I'm getting my attention, you know?
And I do believe that is exactly what it is they're looking for attention, but they're going about it the wrong way.
Right.
And that could be something even deeper, you know? There could be, you have no idea what other people are going through.
Right.
You have no idea what's happening behind closed doors. Maybe that child doesn't have attention and love at home. So that child's acting out because they just crave that attention somehow.
Right.
And that's the only way they know how to get it. And, you know, I told my kids all the time growing up, you know, they've had problems with kids being mean and bullies and blah, blah, blah. And Jasmine and Ben both did there for a while. And I just sat them both down and I was like, look, you know, I know that you don't like this kid and you want to say mean things and horrible things to him because he's acting out towards you. I was like, but you don't know what's going on at his home. I said, maybe you should just be nice and try to be a friend to him and let him know, hey, man, I don't want to be mean to you. I want us to hang out, be friends. Let's talk. And then Jasmine and Ben started doing that, and come to find out, you know, that kid kind of started opening up, talking to him, and they found out he did have a bad home life.
Right.
You know, he had problems with his dad and stuff. And I was like, there you go. There's the reason he doesn't know how to act. Because he's not getting the proper love and attention at home.
Right.
So all he knows is negativity for attention.
Right. Right. And that's an excellent point. And you hear those stories about people that say they were suicidal, or, you know, they were actually going to kill themselves that day, and somebody saw them and just went over to him and said, hey, how you doing, man? Are you okay? You know, can I help you? Do you want to talk? Yeah. It literally stopped their life from ending in that second. It's something so simple as just saying, how are you? Can I do anything to help you? You want to talk for a while? You want to hang out? You know what I mean? I mean, because there's so many of these kids that are like, I have no friends. I'm lonely. I'm depressed. I just don't, you know, it's just, it's sad.
Yeah.
that
And
it's
you know,
come to that.
the hardest part, I think, for kids is junior high school years. Those are the hardest. They are going through a lot of changes. Their bodies are changing. Their hormones are changing. They're trying to figure out life. They don't really know, you know, they've got so much going on.
Right.
So it's hard being a kid. I remember being a teenager. It was kind of hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think our kids today have it even worse in some ways because of all the social media and all the stuff where, you know, there's a lot more ways to hurt kids now than there used to be. Like if a kid, you know, at school doesn't like you, they can make some meme or something, or they can just destroy your relation or your reputation overnight by posting something on Instagram or something, you know.
I have a perfect movie. Let's see. I gotta look it up. This video literally had me in tears. I mean, and it's about a girl who's being bullied at high school, and she tries to kill herself. And nobody knew about it, but her closest friend, you know, and he finally broke down and told her parents, look, I made this pendant for her to wear, and she didn't even know at the time that it was a camera, that he was recording all the stuff, and they got to see what these girls put this girl through. And I was bawling my eyes out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. It's in my stuff. It is, I mean, you see what these parents go through. They see their child going through this, and then they watch the video. The best friend plays it for her, and they realize why she tried to kill herself. And they're just, and you see her literally in the hospital dying, and you see these parents just crying and praying to God, please save my daughter, save my daughter.
Yeah.
And in the end, I'm already getting choked up, but in the end, she does die.
Oh, wow.
And then you get to see the other side of these girls that realize that they pushed her to suicide. And you get to see the news lady sits down with this girl, and she's like, how do you feel about this? And they showed her the video of her and her friends taunting her and what they did to make her take her own life.
Yeah.
And this girl's just bawling her eyes out like, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. And the lady looked at her and said, well, you can't take it back now.
Too late. Yep.
It's too late.
Yeah, that's horrible. That reminds me of there was another one years ago that has always stuck with me. I think her name was Amanda Todd. And it was a similar thing where she I forgot the whole entire story, but she was bullied by other girls at school. At one point, she tried to kill herself by drinking bleach.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, how desperate do you have? I mean, what a way to go. I mean, it's one thing if you take a gun and just one shot gone. I mean, there's a certain way, but I mean, drinking bleach, talk about a slow, painful death.
Yeah.
But she didn't die from that. She went to the hospital. They pumped her stomach or whatever. Anyway, of course, nobody knew about all this until she had actually hung herself and killed herself. But she had posted a video on some kind of social media where there was just a song playing. She wasn't saying anything, and she just had these cards, index card things, not index but bigger ones, like poster board or something, and she had words on each one, and she would hold one up and then hold the other one up and hold the other one.
Yeah,
I've seen
that.
Right, and so it was telling the whole story of what had happened. Well, she basically, this is after the bleach suicide attempt, and she had gotten together with some guy who it turned out was trying to make fun of her again. So he ended up posting nude pictures of her to the whole school.
Oh.
And and then she's saying, so this thing is posted and then she kills herself. So people are seeing this after she's already dead. And it's just, she's telling the story of why she's doing what she's doing. And my heart just broke. I was like, man, if just the right person would have talked to you, or if somebody just would have shown you love, or you'd still be here today, possibly, and it's just like, and you're not, because like you were just saying, those high school years, those junior high years are so hard, but if you can just get through them, you'll look back on it and say, boy, that was hard, but I sure am glad I still stuck through it. I'm here today because I love my life now.
Yeah.
Even though when you're in that, you don't.
I am so up my kids' butts like you would not believe.
Yeah.
I'm always texting, calling, hey, what's going on? Where are you? Hey, what's going on in your life? Blah, blah, blah. And my kids are like, gosh, Mom. And I was like, hey, I care about you.
Right.
I want to know what's going on. I mean, I have had that scare where my daughter and I honestly believed that my son was trying to take his own life. And that is so incredibly scary. Yeah. Because you don't know. And you just want to watch them all the time, but you can't be there 24/7.
Right.
It's like impossible. But I mean, I've been through that, and it was all over a stupid girl.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him she's not worth it.
Right.
She's not worth it, dude. There is a million other girls out there.
Right.
Send her on her way.
Yeah.
And this girl literally had enough guts to message me like last month and tell me that she wanted to get back together with my son. And I told her no. I said, absolutely not. And then she wanted to know why. And oh man, I just laid it down on her. And I told her, you have no idea because you weren't there. You don't know what he went through. You don't know what his family went through for what you did to him.
Right.
This is why I don't want you with my son. I don't want you around my son. Stay away from him.
Right.
And she's like, she literally just apologized and said, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that is what had happened. And I was like, of course you didn't realize. You were the one doing it.
Right.
And you didn't care. So you need to just go on your way and forget about him. Forget that he even exists. Just go live your life. Go ruin someone else's life.
Right.
Stay away from my son.
So this is pretty fresh. I mean, this is a new relationship that just ended not that long ago.
Oh no, she was just recently trying to get back together with him. And this was an old relationship.
Oh, like years ago.
And not to mention that she is 19 years old, same age as my daughter, wanting to be with my 17-year-old son. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
And when I was 19, I had no interest in underage guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that is usually, it's the opposite, right? Like sometimes girls are interested in older guys, but not younger guys. Sometimes guys are interested in younger girls, but not, as much. So,
I did one, I call this like, what the heck? What the heck was I even thinking part of my life?
Yeah.
But I did date a guy that was 10 years younger than me. And I was like, oh my God, I will never do that again.
And then you switched over to Justin, who's 20 years older than you?
Yeah, he's 6 years, but yeah, you could say 20. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just don't get it. I mean, whatever. I don't.
Yeah.
We should probably get back on subject. I got us so far off the subject.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's one of the things I like about doing these actually is I when I sit down with people, I have no idea where it's going to go. And I think that's awesome. We just talk about whatever's on your mind, but I think we covered the kind of LGBT kind of topic pretty thoroughly there. Is there any other other things going on in the country that really get your blood boiling, or is there any things happening?
Well, I don't know. I I liked it when we had Trump as president. Now we've got this Biden.
Yeah.
Who I didn't agree with that election. I know that stuff was.
I think it was stolen.
Definitely stolen. I know it was. I mean, who shuts down the polls?
Yeah, that was weird.
Like that. And then you find out like way later the next day that he ran and all these machines just shut down. They were having that's never happened. I don't think. Not since I've been voting. Yeah. So I don't like our president. Yeah.
Yeah, well, his approval ratings are lower, I think, than they've ever been for a president. So I think you're not alone in that belief. So.
I know. There's even people that are Democrat that don't like him. So.
Oh, for sure. But they would still say they would take him over Trump, right? Because the problem is the interesting thing is that both Democrats and Republicans have the same problem with Trump. Like most of us, like for me, I don't sit there and listen to everything Trump says and go, man, this guy is just the nicest guy in the world. Everything he says is golden. No, he says some really stupid things. He says some really mean things. He does some really dumb things. But I don't care about that when we're talking about running the country. I care about what policy he's going to put in place. I care about the things he's going to do that are going to affect my personal life. Him calling some woman the B word on TV, that doesn't affect my life. No. That doesn't go into the government. I don't think that's nice of him to say that. No. But I'm not electing him because he's nice. I'm electing him because he's going to run the country properly. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So and
he did a lot of great things for us.
For sure.
And then all of a sudden Biden gets in and everything is going down in a spiral, downward spiral. It's going faster and faster,
Right. Yet they'll say that that's because he inherited all the crap from Trump, right? And he's just been trying to. Yeah, I don't agree there, but that's their argument. So when you look at like 2024, obviously Trump's thrown his hat in. He's running again. Biden said he's running again, but there can only be one Republican running against the Democrat, right? I mean, there can't be more than one. There's going to be the primaries and all that kind of stuff. Are you hoping for another Trump presidency, or is there anybody else on the Republican side that you hope runs against Biden instead of Trump? That would be.
I like Trump, but there's also another guy that Justin showed me. And see, again, I don't really know names.
Okay. Is it Ron DeSantis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah,
a lot.
Florida, the Florida governor. Yeah,
I really like him.
Right. Yeah, so do I.
There's another one too. There was him, and then there was some other guy. Gosh dang it. I gotta find it because I know that he sent me a clip of this guy, and he is just putting this Democrat guy through the ringer and like not even giving him a chance. I mean, he was talking about sex trafficking our kids. Ted Cruz.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ted
like
Cruz,
him.
He ran last time too.
He's is awesome.
Times. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like some of the stuff he has to say for sure. Because he's so blunt. He just tells it like, he's got no problem calling somebody on the carpet and being like, look, you did this and this is wrong. It's kind of like, what was that guy that was going after Fauci during the whole COVID thing? Rand Paul. I think his name's Rand Paul. Yeah, he was real. I liked how he was just flat out, not letting Fauci get out of the obvious lies he had told, but I
think that's the video I watched, and I was like, yeah, nail him.
Right.
Heck yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
right. Yeah.
He had the guy couldn't lie about it because he just had graphs and proof after proof after proof. He had so much evidence against him.
Right.
He couldn't say anything. He can't argue when the evidence is staring you right there in the face.
Yet they still try to. That's the funny part to me. Like, if you're caught, you're caught. Like, just, it's like my kids. I was just talking to one of my kids about this last night. But, like, for most people, even if you're a liar and you try to get away with things and once you're caught, you're caught. Like, most people aren't going to continue to try to weasel their way out of that one if there's evidence. Like, did you do this? No. Well, here's a video of you doing this. And you're like, I mean, what are you going to say? That's not me. That's my twin brother. Somebody had plastic surgery to look just like me, and he did that crime. It's like, no, you did it. This is obviously proof. But yeah, it's amazing to me how they'll do that, but yet they get away with it too. That's the amazing thing. And I've been saying, since I know we're not really talking about COVID, but I mean, from the beginning of that whole thing, I've always said these people that are scaring America to death, right? To the point that they're doing crazy things, and they're, there's people dying and they're losing business. All this stuff's happening all because of what the media is portraying as that. And I thought this is the equivalent of if I was at an Aerosmith show, let's say, since we were talking about Aerosmith, I'm in an Aerosmith show indoors, and right before the show's about to start, let's say there's 20,000 people there, and I yell fire really, really loud, right? And all the people start trying to get out, and let's say 50 people die. They're trampled to death and they die. Now, who's going to be in trouble for that? Me.
Yeah.
Why? Because I falsely said there was a fire and there wasn't. And all these people died because of what I said, right? Yeah. So by the same token, why isn't the media in trouble for all the people that are dying and losing their stuff because of all the false crap that they've said about COVID and that they've said all this stuff? And maybe in the beginning, maybe they didn't know. None of us knew anything in the beginning, but it's been over 3 years.
Yeah.
We have so much information now about the truth behind all that, yet they're still going with it. I just saw something the other day where it said they're going to talk about bringing back masking again. I was like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Like, are you literally crazy? Because there's no evidence, first of all, to support that worked anyway.
None of it did. It never did.
I know.
And that's why, I think that's why they hated Trump so much, because he would call them out.
Right.
He'd call them fake news. And he'd call them out on their lies and their all the stuff that they were talking about that wasn't true, and he knew it wasn't true.
Right.
It's just
it
was funny because I just had some stuff going on with the doctor, and they had their like dirty pen jar and their sanitized jar or whatever.
Right.
And I just grabbed a pen, started signing my paperwork, and I was like, "Oh, do you have a dirty pen jar?" And the lady, she just kind of looks at me and laughs. And she's like, "We don't do that anymore." I was like, "Finally!"
Yeah. They're like, "We've gotten our brains back now. We don't do stupid things like that anymore."
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So for back to get off of the COVID, I wasn't trying to go there. But so Ron DeSantis is who I personally really like. I think I do like Trump. So if it's Trump Biden, if Trump gets the nomination at the primary and he's the running Republican, then I'm voting for Trump. If it's between him and Biden, obviously. But if I have my choice, I would rather have it be DeSantis running, because the reason I like DeSantis over Trump is because I think DeSantis has a lot of the same policies that Trump has, except he doesn't have the 5-year-old mentality sometimes where he's going to get into, your mama fat arguments with people and just acting like a little kid. It's like that's the thing I think that turns a lot of people off about Trump, me included. I don't like that part of Trump either. So I'm hoping DeSantis gets in there, because DeSantis stands up for what he believes. You're looking at everything he's doing in Florida with the transgender issue, with the drag time story hour. I mean, he's very much trying to protect our kids from all this crap that's happening in other states.
Oh, I would vote for him hands down.
Right.
I mean, hands down. I like him. In fact, if it came to voting for him or Trump, I would choose him also.
Yeah, me too.
And
exactly.
He's amazing. I remember him telling the schools, like, you're not going to make these kids wear masks, and if you keep bringing up this COVID thing, I'm going to stop funding your schools.
Yes. See, that's what
and
I'm
all
saying.
Of a sudden, COVID disappeared.
Right.
Look at that. I mean, it was a miracle.
Well, then they started trying to spread lies about him and saying how all the people in Florida that's got the highest death rate from COVID and blah, blah, blah. And in reality, it didn't, right? You look at places like New York had even higher, which is fascinating because Florida's got like the highest elderly population in the country.
Yeah, everyone goes there to retire.
Yeah, and like 90% of the people that were dying from COVID were elderly people. So you think, in theory, Florida should have been one of the highest death rates because they have so many elderly people, but they didn't. They had one of the lowest. And it's like, and here was an open state. They never locked down. They never did what California and New York did and all these places did to close businesses and wear masks 24/7, even when you're sleeping or you're driving in your car by yourself. And I still see people like that. That just I almost want to follow them and see where they're going, just so I can be like, okay, dude, look, I'm not trying to start arguing with you. I'm just really, really curious. why are you wearing a mask while you're driving by yourself? I'm like I said, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm going to be very nice about this. I'm just really curious what you're doing.
You know what we say about those people around this area is if you see a person driving by themselves with a mask on, you can definitely identify your Biden supporters.
Yeah, right.
We all know they're Biden lovers.
Yeah, right. They don't need the bumper sticker on the car to prove that. That's just the mask does it, right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's definitely, yeah.
And there was a joke. Oh my gosh. It was a while back. Like if you see someone that you really don't like, you know, and you're like in some kind of rally, like we have open carry here, so we had a lot of rallies with people walking around with guns and stuff,
right?
And if you don't like someone, just stick a Joe Biden sticker on their car. That'll take care of itself.
Oh man. Well, and I know Idaho is very conservative, and I know there's a lot of Trump support in Idaho for sure, but do you like just in your day-to-day life in the area you are, do you come across a lot of Biden supporters or?
No.
Okay. So
no, I think I know there's some, you know, I know, I know of a couple, but we choose not to speak politics. My brother, Scott, is a Biden lover, and him and I just agreed to not talk politics.
Right.
And we're like, look, you know, I love you. You're my brother. That's never going to change. And he's like, yeah, I know. I love you. You're my sister. It's like, but we can't talk politics.
Right.
And he does have non-binary daughter.
Okay.
So, and he knows I don't agree, but I don't talk. We just don't talk about it. It's just best not to talk about it because we get along better if we don't.
Right.
So, you know, I have that in my own family, but it doesn't make me love him any less or his kids or anything. You know, I still love them, but they have their own lifestyle. I may not agree with it, but I'll keep that opinion to myself.
Sure.
And,
but then they come in with the whole silence is violence thing, right? Like they'll say, like, if you like the whole idea that in order to love somebody, you have to approve and affirm who they are in order to love them. So I agree, but that's the argument, right? They'll say, so if you know, well, first of all, what I was going to say is it's always a lot of people, the reason that they're LGBT allies or whatever is, oh, my kid's gay or my kid's non-binary, like you were saying. And I guess I can, if I was to put myself in that position and say if one of my kids decided to go that route, I wouldn't love them any less. Yeah, but I also wouldn't approve. Like if they said, "Oh, do you approve of my homosexual lifestyle?" No, I don't. But it doesn't mean I don't love you. Like I don't think love requires approval. And there was I've said this a few times, but I'll say it again because I love this. There was a debate that they were having. I want to say it was Frank Turek. You know who Frank Turek is? No. He wrote a book called "I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist." Oh. Yeah. So he's a Christian apologist. He got a lot of good stuff, but he was doing a debate with a couple of people from the homosexual community, the LGBT community, and the whole point of the debate was love requires approval, right? And that these Christians over here, that if they really loved the LGBT people the way Jesus says to love everybody, then they would approve of their lifestyle. So Frank Turek, the Christian guy in the debate, he goes over to him and he says, this is like towards the beginning of the debate, and he says, hey, you know that me and my colleague over here, first he says, do you guys love us? Do you guys love me and my colleague over here, my Christian friend? And they said, well, yeah, of course we love you. And then he says, well, you know that we don't approve of the homosexual lifestyle. Do you agree? Do you approve of our thoughts on this? Like, do you approve that we think that's not okay? And they said, well, no, of course not. And he said, well, you just lost the debate. Because if you say you love us, yet you don't approve of our position that homosexuality is wrong, then you're trying to say love requires approval, right? So it's like, if you love me, then you'll approve of our stance. And it's like, no, we love you, but we don't approve of your stance. Well, then you just lost the debate.
Yeah.
Right. So he turned it around on him. I was like, this is beautiful, because they're so they're so different to say I agree with you or I love you. Like, why do those things have to be the same thing? They're not the same thing. Mm-mm. My kids can have lots of different lifestyles. My kid can decide to be an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. I still love my kid. Do I approve that he's an alcoholic? No, I don't approve that he's an alcoholic. Of course not. I wish that he wasn't an alcoholic. I wish he would get help. I wish he'd get out of that. But so it's just that whole idea that you have to approve of. And getting back to what you were saying, that I think that when people have a child who decides to identify as LGBT or they're homosexual or whatever, they think that means that they automatically have to say, okay, I'm okay with this now because my son's gay, therefore I have to be okay with it. It's like, no, I don't think you should berate your child or be mean to him because of his sexual preference, but that's there's different sides to that, of course. But anyway, that's a whole rabbit hole we could go down for days, but
I could be there for a long time on that topic.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, we're going to move into spiritual stuff now. Do you feel more comfortable with that than you do politics, or is that kind of a iffy thing for you as well?
I don't know. I don't. Let's see. I have my belief. I believe in God. I pray. Do I go to church? No.
Okay.
I don't, because I consider myself non-denominational. Mm-hmm. I don't go to church because they all believe that the only way through Christ is through them.
Okay.
They all believe that they're right. I mean, but yet they all believe in different things, and they're adding books. And I'm just like, no, you know what? Forget it. I don't want to be involved in this.
Yeah.
And I was raised up in churches. I've gone to so many different churches.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I've never been judged so harshly in my life by anyone but in the church. Mm-hmm. I have, oh my gosh, I've had some bad experiences with people there that say that they're Christian. Mm-hmm. But really, they just want to judge you. They want to gossip. They want to spread rumors. I mean, they say they're Christian, but really they don't act like it.
Right.
And I don't have a problem with religion. Do your thing. But I believe what I believe, and don't push your beliefs onto me. Mm-hmm. And we'll get along. I mean, we can talk about stuff, and we might agree to disagree in the end.
Right. Right. So going back to, so this is cool. You're giving me a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I agree with you with a lot of the stuff about the church that you just said. So you grew up, does like your mom used to take you to church, or did you start going maybe like youth group in high school? Like what originally started making you go to a church? About what age were you?
My mom took us to church. Mm-hmm. But also, when I was in school from kindergarten to 6th grade, I went to a school in Nampa, which was called Zion Lutheran School. So it was a private Christian school.
Okay.
And on Wednesdays, and this is weird because you don't even hear about this anymore. On Wednesdays, we would have church every Wednesday morning. All of us kids would come in, go to church, Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you a single thing about what they talked because I really wasn't paying attention as a kid.
Right.
So, I've been to several different churches. I've been to church camp. I've gone to the youth group. My son, he goes to youth group now at the Nazarene. Mm-hmm. And I like youth groups. I think it's a safe, cool, fun place for kids to go.
Right.
And, learning about God isn't going to hurt anyone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
some people would disagree with you. They would say learning about God is gonna teach you to hate anybody who's not a believer in God. It's going to teach you to hate the LGBT community. It's going to teach you to hate. I'm saying that's what they would say. But
Well, I learned about God, and I don't hate those people.
Right.
I may not agree with them, but you know what? I have that right, and they have the same right.
Right. Well, and that's the distinction that I think needs to be made, and some of the things you said about people in church gossiping and that kind of thing, and we really need to separate like churchgoers from the God of the Bible, right? So, like, if I went to a church and the pastor was teaching, let's say he was teaching from the pulpit, you know, as Christians, we need to hate the homosexual community. We need to treat them harshly, and they're all going to burn in hell. So let's start burning crosses on their front lawns. And, you know, let's say he was saying that. And this is a man who claims to be a follower of Christ. I would say, I would meet with him and say, hey, let's go get coffee. And I would meet with him and I say, okay, I listened to everything you said this morning. And that's okay. Let's say I'm gonna assume that that's what God thinks. You're telling me what God thinks. Can you show me from the scriptures what you just taught somewhere in the scriptures? Can you show me that? Where does it say in there that God hates homosexuals? Where does it say in there that we're supposed to burn crosses on their front lawns and we're supposed to treat them harshly? Show me that, you know. And if he simply shows me a verse that says, well, right here, Ryan, it says that homosexuality is an abomination. Okay. We can agree it says it's an abomination. Where in there does it say to hate those people or that God hates those? You see what I'm saying? So we have to distinguish between people who claim to be followers of Christ and actual Christ, like actually what he taught and what he said. And that's a big deal. And I think once we can get past that, that's what helps me go to church. That's what gets me into the church building, is I need to realize this man is not Jesus. He's just a pastor, you know, he's up there, you know, and obviously I want to find a church who I feel is teaching the truth from the Bible, but I've never found a church where everything they said was straight out of the book. You know what I'm saying? So there's always that. There's always going to be that. Boy, that was kind of all over the place. So you were going to church at some point when you were younger. Did you go to youth group as a teen?
Gosh, you're asking me to remember. I think I did. I did off and on, but youth group wasn't back then as it is now.
Right.
It wasn't as popular, you know, and it wasn't a weekly thing like it is now. My son goes to youth group every week on Wednesdays. And then, they also have another class for the kids. It's a grief support group, a grief.
Oh, wow. Really?
And it's helped because my son has lost a lot of people within the last couple of years that was very close to him.
Oh, what a bummer.
So this support group has been amazing for him. And it's through the church. And he has this workbook and all these kids come together and they just talk about their feelings and everything that they're going through. And I mean, I like it. I appreciate that they do that, because I try to talk to them, but what kid wants to sit there and talk to he talks to me, but not about everything, which I get, you know. I didn't always want to talk about everything with my parent either, you know, so. Right.
Yeah, it's more comfortable sometimes to talk to another adult who's not your parents, you know. So,
and I tried to get him in counseling, and I mean they have been in counseling before, but now he's older, and I guess maybe nowadays counseling's kind of frowned upon the teenage community, or they think something's wrong with you. So this class is kind of like a counseling session, but they don't really see it as that.
Right.
They see it as a bunch of kids getting together and they're enjoying each other's company and they're talking to each other. So it is counseling, but to them it's not. So, I mean, it's cool. It works.
Right. Sure. Yeah, for sure. So, okay. So where you are now at, and as an adult, you obviously believe in God. Do you see that God that you believe in as different than anybody else's God? Or like if someone that was, say, Muslim or Hindu or something said, I believe in God as well, but I call him Krishna or I call him Allah, or do you see that as the same thing, or do you think it's different?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I've never thought that far into it.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
I just kind of do my own thing, have my own beliefs, and I pray, and I'll read the Bible. I'm not going to say that I'm constantly reading the Bible, but I have sat down and read it, gone over scriptures. I'll look at stuff on my phone, look for scriptures, stuff like that. And
do you believe that the Bible is true, like in its entirety, or are you a kind of a person who says, I believe some of it, but not all of it, or?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Really. Okay.
I mean, it's something that I really like. I get comfort out of it.
Okay.
It gives me comfort sometimes, peace of mind. Sometimes it scares me, but I mean.
Like how so? Like what parts would scare you?
Like in the book of Revelations, how everything's starting to come around,
Yeah,
it looks like it's starting to come true. And you're like, holy hell. Well, is today the last day?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
there's
it's kind of scary when this book was written freaking millions of years ago.
Yeah. Well, thousands, but yeah.
Thousands, millions to me, whatever. It's been a long time. So thousands of years ago, this book was written, and now all of a sudden these people that don't have the technology we have now, this stuff's starting to come true. And you're like, holy crap, how would you explain that this person would know this? Right. I mean, so it's got to be true. Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's some of the stuff that convinced me, at least of the Bible being true, because I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't grow up. In fact, I grew up. I don't know if you've ever heard or Justin's told you my story, but I hated Christians, like actively hated Christians with a passion. I hated their narrow-mindedness by saying they have the only way of salvation. I didn't like Jesus because he said, I'm the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. I'm like, okay, come on. Who do you think you are, Jesus? Like, this was my attitude back then. So I would get invited to these Bible studies with Christians. And to this day, I don't know why they invited me, because all I would do is argue with them, tell them how stupid they were, tell them how narrow-minded they were. But then I had become what I hated. And that's really the only way I know how to explain it. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't deciding, today I think I'm going to become a Christian. I was going through times that were difficult, and I, for whatever reason, picked up the Bible, started reading it. And I got through pretty much the whole thing. So I was reading on my lunch break, and everybody's tripping out because I'm normally the party guy. I'm the guy that's doing the stupid things. I'm the guy that's all about, what I know now is sin. I'm involved in all this stuff. And my work friend's like, dude, what's up with Ryan, man? He's up on the hill reading the Bible. Like, what are you doing, dude? I thought you hated that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know, man. To be honest with you, I don't know. But I just kept reading through it. Well, then I started getting involved, because then I started to think to myself, how do I know this book is even true? Like, how do I know that all the things I used to believe about it, like it was written by man, they just wrote it for power, they want to control people. This is the church's manual so they can make people do what they want them to do. So then I started looking into stuff like that. And one of the things, this is getting back to what you said, but one of the things that hit me is that I was reading a book, and it was talking about how in the book of Isaiah, which was written 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, it talks about how the earth was a sphere. And I thought, earth is a sphere. I said that mankind didn't figure that out until whatever year they decided that, the earth's not flat. It's round. Like, they didn't discover that until thousands of years after Isaiah wrote that. And I'm like, how the heck did he know that before the rest of mankind figured that out? It's like, well, it's because God inspired him to write down what he might not even have known what he was writing. The earth is a sphere. What, God, really? The sphere? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because, we all believe it's flat down here. Are you positive? So it's stuff like that kind of solidified my belief in the Bible. And then once I got to that point, I was like, okay, now I can believe everything it says. Even if I read something, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of, I don't know about that one. That's hard. That's a hard section to read, Yeah. So what I want to do now, since we're on the same page as far as believing in God, usually where I'll go with this, if somebody says I don't believe in God, is we'll kind of go down a road of intelligent design and be like, okay, well, let me show you why I believe that God exists. But you're already there. So I'm just kind of like, what are
I made
your
it
thoughts
easy
on?
for you.
Yeah, you did. Well, it's kind of cool because then I get to talk about some other stuff that I don't usually get to. But it's like, what are your thoughts on things like heaven and hell? Do you think those are real places, or do you think they're kind of? And you can take one or the other and say, well, I believe in heaven, but I don't believe in hell, or vice versa. Or
honestly, I don't know. I mean, I'm really not going to know until I die, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I know that the Bible does talk about it.
Right.
And I've already, established that a lot of the stuff in the Bible's got to be true because it's happening. So I'm sure that there is a heaven and a hell.
Mm-hmm.
Do I believe like the Mormons do that there's 7 freaking, what is that? There's like 7
levels
of heaven, 7 levels of hell, and that you're equal to God? I do not believe that at all.
Well,
not for a minute.
So this is
I believe that.
This is a side. Yeah, this is a side tangent, but I've always thought to myself, could there be a more man-made religion than Mormonism? If you think about it, what happens when you die? You get your own planet where you're the only man surrounded by all these women who live to service you. I was like, I mean, could there be a more man-centered religion? Like, it's like, hey guys, all right, what should the afterlife be? Okay, how about we own a planet and we eat nothing but pizza and cheeseburgers and ice cream, and the women are all at our beck and call at all moments. They just do whatever we tell them to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, obviously I don't believe in that one. And there's lots of reasons why, but I just think it's funny how, like, if a bunch of men got together and they got to decide what the afterlife is going to be like, that's exactly what they would come up with. Right? Like they would take all these things that they love so much in the flesh, and they're like, oh yeah, let's just have this for eternity, So the Bible does talk about heaven and hell. So in your own belief, how do you cipher? That's what I'm looking for. Who do you think goes to heaven, and who do you think goes to hell? Like, as far as
rapists, child molesters, anyone who's going to do that to innocent children. Thou shalt not kill. So maybe people that kill, I don't know. Honestly, that would be like me judging people. I can't make that. I can't make that judgment. That's not my right to say who goes to heaven and hell.
Right.
That's not for me. That's for God. He's the one that decides that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For sure.
I can't make that decision. I mean, I could think like, oh yeah, well, this person probably is definitely going to hell. Hell, my mom used to tell me I was going to go to hell when I was younger, and I told her that's all right. I rented a bus, and all my friends are coming with me. I mean,
yeah.
So
yeah.
I've been told I was going to hell. Who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Yeah. I don't know. But
is honestly, the maybe I will though? The maybe I will, is that something that frightens you at all, or no?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to go there.
Right.
Sounds like a horrible place. Yeah. I don't want to be there. I'd rather be up in heaven where there's just no pain, no tears, just happiness and love, and just, I don't know. Heaven sounds like a beautiful place.
Right.
Wouldn't we all rather be there?
You'd think so.
And
yeah.
I do. I would have to say that, yeah, I do believe in heaven and hell because I believe in angels and demons. Angels come from heaven. Yeah. Demons come from hell, obviously. Yeah. They're horrible. I mean, you see all sorts of stuff. So if I believe in that, I guess I would have to say that I believe in heaven and hell.
Yeah.
According if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah, it does. I was going to say, according to the Bible, demons came from heaven too, originally.
Of course. They were cast out just like Satan.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So they're angels also. They're just, we call the evil angels or demons, Yeah, so I agree with you that it's really not in anybody's place to say, if somebody dies and we say, well, I know for sure they're in heaven, or I know for sure they're in hell. But I know for a lot of people, we tend to say things like, I've been to a lot of funerals, whether for family members or friends, or sometimes even people I don't know very well, and I just go because their family invites me or whatever. But you hear a lot of things like, oh, and we know so-and-so is in a better place because they were such a nice person, or they were, they were so good, and they, and there's kind of all these qualities that they throw out there. And a lot of times those things are very true. That I think to myself, yeah, they're right. That guy was a great guy. I mean, he helped people. He was nice. But then when you start reading the Bible, you realize that that's not the end, right? And this is the part that a lot of people have a hard time with, because from a human standpoint, that's what you would think. You think, well, I hope people like serial killers and child rapists, and I hope they're all going to burn for eternity, right? That's the kind of people I think should be there, And I think guys that are trying their best and they're for the most part being good, and they're getting along with the rest of humanity, they should be in heaven, right? That's kind of the human thought, because that's the way our world works. You do good things, you get good things in return. You do bad things, you get bad things, right? You commit a crime, you go to jail. You help an old lady cross the street, she gives you a cupcake, whatever. You get good things for good and bad things for bad. So that leads me to the next question, as far as like what salvation is to you. Like what does that word mean? Like, how does a person attain salvation? Or does a person need to attain salvation? Because from the biblical perspective, salvation means that's who's going to heaven, right? You're saved is what the Christian terms would be.
So I guess salvation, the only thing I really know of is what I was taught all my life growing up, is you have to pray, accept Jesus into your heart, ask him to forgive you of your sins, or be baptized, and then you're saved. That's salvation. So I don't know. Honestly, I guess that's the only way I know. And of course, honestly, trying to keep true to Christian, like God, like what God would want you to do. What would Jesus do, Right. But I'll admit I'm definitely not a perfect Christian. I mean, I have my flaws. We all do.
Hey, find one for me. And I'll take a picture and frame it, because I have yet to meet one.
And I'll be the first to admit I'm not a perfect Christian. I'm a sinner. Right. We all sin. Right. So I really don't know how to answer the salvation. All I know is what I was taught from being a kid, and you had to be baptized. And it was funny because the first time I ever got baptized, and those Mormons, they like to brainwash you, and I was a kid. So first time ever being baptized was Mormon. And then I started going to this Christian church, and I really liked that. So I had them re-baptize me as their Christian belief, because I didn't believe the Mormons believe.
Well, so this is interesting. I didn't hear this part of your story. So at one point you believed in Mormonism, or?
I didn't know what I believed in. I was a kid, They had all this cool stuff, and probably a cute missionary or something, you know? I don't know. So
did you get kind of pulled that way from like a friend of yours that was Mormon, or like how did that play out?
No, around here they come knocking on your door. Okay. They're always coming around. My friend, I have a good friend, Chris, and growing up, I told you I didn't know my dad, but this guy took me under his wing. And he was like my dad. He was the closest thing I had to a dad. So, and he's a biker dude, he's really cool. So I always called him my big, bad biker dad. But he would love it when those people would come around knocking on the door. He'd see him down the street, and he would run to his bedroom, strip down naked, go grab a beer, and open up the door stark naked. He stopped them from coming to his house. They do not ever come back.
Oh, boy.
So if you ever want to get rid of them, that's how you do it.
Right. Yeah. Being the kind of person I am with my personality, that's why I do these podcasts, because I enjoy conversations. I actually like talking to Mormons. I like talking to Jehovah's Witnesses. Justin and I have some good stories about. Ask Justin when we're done about the story about the guy, the Jehovah's Witness that was meeting with us at the donut shop for quite a few months, because that's a great story. We almost had that guy. We had that guy really thinking about his Jehovah's Witness beliefs, to the point that the head honcho guy came in one morning. And he's all smug. He's like, "Oh,
He's like, hey, and you're just shaking hands with us. So I hear that Jerry here says you guys are saying some things to him. But
I said, dude, you're so uptight. Just relax, just, it's okay. Yes, we'll share with you too. You can either believe it or not. It's up to you, man. But, but he's just so uptight. Like, well, I have to believe only Jehovah's Witness. And if anybody says anything otherwise, I just got to, get it away from me. And, I can't do this. But I love talking to people. But that is really funny who did that? Your uncle that did that, you said?
No, this is a guy I grew up. He was like my dad. So I always called him
biker dad. Gotcha,
big bad biker dad. That's the way he took care of that. And I thought that was so freaking funny. And he was the type of guy, he didn't care. I think he should be a hippie living on a nudist colony, honestly, because he doesn't care. And I just thought that was so great.
Yeah.
And he never had a problem again, because what do you do if this big burly biker guy opens up the door naked with a beer in his hand? I'm pretty sure they probably ran away screaming.
Yeah, especially if he would have been like, hey there, you want to come on in?
Yeah.
You want to play some games?
I'm sure that he did. He was like, hey, you want to come on in? They're like, oh, no, we're good. Bye.
Yeah. We'll see you, buddy. Mark that house off the list. We're never coming back here again.
You took care of it. They never came back.
Yeah. So were you like under 18 when they came to the door and you started going, or were you already an adult? Okay.
I was definitely under 18.
Okay.
And I was still living in Idaho, so it was under 16. I was young.
Okay.
Really young. And another thing that they do that I don't believe in or understand is they do baptism for the dead.
Yes.
I don't agree with that at all.
Right.
That just doesn't make any sense. This is craziness. Right. And this is some huge religion thing, and people are following it. And it's like, this is crazy.
Right.
Why can't you see that there's something wrong with this? How do you get baptized for a person that's already dead?
Right.
How does this work?
Well, this is all stuff that's in like the Book of Mormon or the Pearl of Great Price, some of these other writings they have, because they say they believe in the Bible, yet they also believe in these other writings, and you can actually go through and find contradictions between the two. Like, it's like, well, you can't believe in both. It's either one or the other in some of these situations. But I think the reason they believe that is because it's just, they're taught from a young age. This is what we believe. A lot of it's based on feeling. I know a lot of Mormons I've talked to, if you ask them, well, how do you know Mormonism is correct? How do you know that Joseph Smith's revelation was correct? And they'll say, well, because I prayed about it and I had a burning in the bosom. That's what they say. They get like a warm and fuzzy feeling in their chest.
Ooh.
And that's
you can get that from eating the right food that you love.
That's right, man. You have some jalapeno poppers and you might have that same problem,
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
But, they'll say they all had that same experience. And I think there's something to be said for that. But to me, experience isn't gonna be enough evidence for me, because we all have experiences. I've talked to people that say, oh, I know there is no God because the devil appeared to me and told me there is no God and that he runs the world. And but it's like, well, okay, I can't really deny their experience. I can come up with my own theories on what I think really happened there, or if I always ask, well, were you on anything? Were you like, what were you doing? Were you seeing pink elephants on parade too? What's going on there? So it's
Did you take a piece of candy from a stranger?
Right, exactly. So you just never know. But it's always interesting to hear the stories. So before we move on from this, it's interesting. So you were part of the Mormon Church for a while. How long would you say that was? Enough to get baptized? That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, they tried to do that right away.
Okay.
That wasn't even going for a while. That was like probably within a week.
Okay.
I don't understand it. And I was a kid. Like, as a kid, I didn't know anything. I just knew that they said this and that and this. But then after I got baptized, this is when they started talking about the 7 levels of hell and heaven, and then baptizing for the dead. And I might have been young, but I knew that I didn't agree with that.
Okay.
And I knew that I was never taught that. And I've gone to several different churches with my mom, but I also went to a Lutheran private school, never spoke of that. And I had that feeling, maybe it was that warm, fuzzy feeling we were just talking about, that was not right.
Right. Right.
You know, and right then and there, I stopped going. I did not want anything else to do with that church.
Interesting. As a young teenager, you came up with that.
Yeah, because I just knew something in me just knew that was not right.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel right. It didn't sound right. I was just, there's something wrong here. There's just something wrong here. And I didn't agree with it. So I quit going.
So what is it specifically about baptism of the dead that you think is dumb or you think doesn't make sense?
All of it. I mean, how do you, all of it, none of it makes sense. Right. None of it seems right. How do you get baptized for a dead person? So they baptize you, and then what? Do you do like some kind of voodoo dance and like, here, take your baptism, you're saved now? Right. I don't understand that. How is it possible? I mean, how does that baptism, so how does you being baptized for a dead person transfer to the dead person? Right. How does that happen? How do you make that happen? Right. It just doesn't make any sense. It seems so stupid.
Yeah, it would have to be like a spiritual thing. That's probably what they would say. Well, no, it's spiritually transferred. Because you're right. If the water's going on you, how do you, that'd be equivalent to saying, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger and then somehow my dead relative is now going to be full from the cheeseburger that I ate. It's like, how do I transfer what I put into my own body to someone else? Right. That doesn't. Well,
if that was the case, I'd be like, okay, so I'm going to eat all this great fattening food, but I'm not going to get fat. I'm going to transfer all this fat to that person over there. Right. Yeah. He's too skinny. I'm going to make her fat by eating this. I wish it worked like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah. That's a cool idea for like a movie or something. That sounds like a Farrelly Brothers movie that they could write or something, and have. That's awesome. I'm going to start working on that. Yeah. This idea, right? You got the skinniest person in the world but eats everything constantly because they're transferring their their food after they eat it to all the
people.
Everyone else is fat and they can't figure it out. They're like, all I eat is rice cakes. Why am I 400 pounds? I don't understand this.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
If we could make that a thing, I'd be on board.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So all right, so that's interesting. That's an interesting turn that I wasn't expecting. So then you came out of that, and because of the baptism of the dead, that you said, nope, I'm out of here. This is wrong.
And the 7 levels, and being equal to God. I did not agree with that either.
Right. That we're little gods, and that we'll become a god.
I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, I mean, even being a young kid, I knew better than that.
Right. Do you believe there's one God only?
I think so. I don't know. Everyone says there's God, Son, Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, whatever. But aren't those all just... I do believe... Okay, so I believe God, but I also believe... Because in the Bible, it says he created his Son. So some people say God and Jesus are the same person. I'm not sure if I agree with that, because I believe that God in John 3:16... that he gave his only begotten Son. Right. So therefore, right there says to me, and this is my own personal opinion, that they are 2 different individuals or whatever they are. Right. So that's 2 different people. It's not one. And I know some people believe that it's all just one person. And I don't believe that. And as far as the Holy Ghost, that's a spirit thing. I don't think that's not a person. Yeah.
So it's the doctrine of the Trinity is what you're referring to. And it's, I will tell you before I even start to try to explain it, that it is the most hard thing to understand of all time, because it is. What it's saying is there's only one God, but there's 3 parts, or there's 3 separate persons, quote unquote. You have God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, right? And then you say, well,
Is that three gods? No, it's one God. But wait a minute, but there's three. There's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Yes, but that's one. And our brains just can't comprehend that because it doesn't make any sense. But they've used lots of different analogies. Like they say, okay, well, you have steam, you have ice, and you have liquid water. They're all water, right? The one is water, but they're different forms of water. Or you have an egg, you have a shell, you have a white, you have a yolk. It's all an egg. Like you could say any one of those parts is an egg, right? As a whole. And of course, all these analogies don't hold up because we're talking about God. So it's, they're all going to fall short. But I mean, that's but here's what we do know. And there's no denying this. The Bible teaches it, right? The Bible definitely teaches the Trinity. So that's where we get into a kind of a hard area. It's like, I don't understand this, but I know it teaches it. Yeah. So it's either true or it's not, So for me, I just choose to believe, because like I've told you, I've looked into the Bible and why it's true. I choose to believe that it's true, even if I don't completely understand it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not completely understanding God, because God, I would hope, is far beyond my capacity. If he's like me, we're all in trouble. Yeah. Right? So I mean, he's got to be above and beyond anything I can comprehend. But I think he's given us what he wants us to know through the Bible. Like he's told us what we need to know. So that's. And that whole idea, you said a minute ago that it says that God created Jesus. I don't believe it says that. I was probably wrong there. Yeah. But to me, but if you find that,
he created us. Okay.
He did. But
he created us. But he says Jesus is his son. So wouldn't he create him? I mean, Mary got pregnant. She was a virgin. She got pregnant. She gave birth. To Jesus. Yes. So therefore, someone had to create him.
Well,
and if God created us, wouldn't he create him too?
Not necessarily. So if we look at God as one person, and he's always been in existence, like God was never created, right? When we look at everything that was created, we have to come back to a non-created creator at some point. There has to be a starting point there, right? Yeah. So you read like Genesis, like it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. And then you get, and that's, I believe that's plural. Yeah. Which is fascinating, right? And then you look at where it says, let us make man in our image. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. Isn't just God's creating, right? It's like, well, no, if it's the whole Trinity that is in existence even at that time. And then you look at, I think it's the book of Colossians, where it says that, talking about Jesus, says all things were created for him, through him, and by him. Yeah. So that's saying that Jesus created everything, right? But then there's other spots where it'll say God.
See, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So, it doesn't make it any less confusing. I mean, it's still confusing, right?
It is confusing.
Right. But so the moment that Mary gave birth to Jesus, that wasn't the moment that he began to exist. That was the moment that he became a human, that he entered into our world as a human, because we needed a perfect sacrifice, right? You read through the Old Testament, and the Jews were told, sacrifice animals for your sins, sacrifice animals for your sins, Day of Atonement, all these different things. And they were doing that. But that was never sufficient enough, really, to completely cover the sins of mankind. It had to be a perfect, sinless, right? A sinless sacrifice. You can't find that other than Jesus. Jesus is the only person to ever exist that was sinless, right? None of us would have fit the bill, right? Raise your hand if you're sinless, like we were just talking about. Find me a perfect Christian, right? They don't exist. And so he stepped into humanity to do that for all of mankind, at least those that would receive that gift, right, of forgiveness of their sins. And that gets back to what you're saying about believing in Jesus, accepting him into your heart. That's really what all that is. You're receiving this free gift that he's given you. We don't deserve it. None of us deserve it. It's not like, I'm such a good guy that the Lord decided to give me salvation. No, I'm a miserable, wretched person that is reaching out my hand saying, please help me. Like, I need this. I cannot save myself. I always use the analogy of, we're all born into a river that's flowing towards hell,
Yeah.
And then Jesus is on the shore, like reaching his hand out, or he's got a stick or something. He's like,
and it's
trying
up
to
to
reach
us to grab that.
Exactly.
It's
and that's
our
where the
choice.
free will.
And
Yes.
I believe he gave us that choice, you know?
Right.
So we have that freedom, and it's up to us to decide what we want to do. And it's just like, I guess it'd be just like back to previous conversation, far as transgender people changing their sex. I guess that's up to them because we were all given a choice.
Yes. Right.
So.
Right. And that's where the free will aspect comes in, you know?
Yeah.
But then the other part, like, and this is where the third part of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, comes in, is you have, once a person receives that gift, the Bible teaches that now that person is indwelt by the Holy Spirit. That means the Holy Spirit now dwells inside that person. So to me, that's what I believe salvation is. That's what I believe the Bible teaches salvation is. It's not that God's going, okay, who's a good person and who's not? Who did enough good things to get across the marker and who did enough bad things to put them on this side of the fence? Hell, heaven, hell, heaven. It's more like, is my son in there or not?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, he's not. See ya. And there could be the nicest guy in the world. He could be, you know, whoever, Mr. Rogers, like just this wonderful person, like helping everybody or whatever. Mother Teresa, these great people. Is my son in there? No. See ya. And a lot of people have a hard time with that, you know, because it could be that somebody like, or like Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but it's supposedly he received Christ before he died.
But
so
does that mean he still goes to heaven because he did?
Yes.
I mean, we don't know. We don't know. Just because he did that.
We don't know for sure if he received Christ.
Yeah.
But if he did, if we can assume he did, then yes, he's in heaven. Mm-hmm. And that's hard for a lot of people, right? Because like that guy was a murderer. He was a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah.
Right. And that's difficult, you know, but that's the kind of God that we have, is a God that's willing to forgive somebody who is truly seeking the forgiveness.
So there's my point. You just kind of made it. I was just going to ask. So I know that some people, like maybe before death, you're scared. You know, you're scared of, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to heaven, or I'm at hell.
Right.
I want to go to heaven. Everybody wants to go to heaven. So I'm going to ask for forgiveness and pray that God comes into my heart and saves me. But are you doing that to be genuinely a different person? Or are you doing that just so when you die, you're going to go to heaven?
Right.
You see what I mean?
Sure. But you know who knows that? You know who knows that? Is God.
Nobody knows that. I mean,
except
but
God.
Only God. So we cannot say whether or not, okay, well, this person accepted Jesus. They're good now. They're going to heaven. Well, no, I don't know. I can't say that. I really agree with that.
Yes, I agree with it. I agree with you completely. I think there's a lot of people on earth today that will tell you they've accepted Jesus, that tell you that they believe in God, that they go to church, that they do all these things. But then you get talking to them and they talk about their life and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if your confession, and of course, again, it's not my job to decide that, but it and the way that I look at it is, it's not people that say, let's say somebody, well, here's what I'll say. I'll say, if I have a friend that comes to me and they say, man, I say, hey, how's it going, man? And this guy professes to be a Christian, right? And I say, how's it going, man? How's your weekend? He says, dude, it was great. I went to the bar and I got hammered. And then we did a bunch of coke at this guy's house, and we had an orgy, and we slept with all these people. Yeah. Man, it was just a blast, and I can't wait to do it next weekend.
Yeah,
I would question. Well, here's what I would say. Here's what I would ask that person. Okay, like what was happening inside of you as you're talking about? Did you have any conviction? Did you feel guilty about it? Oh no, man, it was great. I can't wait to do it again next weekend.
But then is that person going to go to church on Sunday?
Maybe. They just might, right? They just might.
There's people that do that and think, if I ask for forgiveness, I'm good, and then I can go out and do it again.
Correct. But that gets right back to what you just said, is that their heart is wrong. They're only asking for forgiveness so they can have a false sense, or not, they don't know it's false, but it is. It's a false sense of security. Oh, I'm good. I'm saved. I'm going to go to heaven when I die. So I'm just going to keep living in my flesh and do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But the Bible is very clear that there will be conviction for a true believer. You cannot live that kind of lifestyle without a conviction, right? So I would question that guy's salvation, even though it's not my place. In my mind, I would. I might even talk to him about it and say, hey, I'm worried about you,
Yeah.
But then let's say there's another scenario where a friend comes to me and also professes to be a Christian. And I go, how was your weekend? He goes, oh my gosh, man, I cheated on my wife. And I drank too much at the bar, and this girl was looking really pretty, and she invited me home with her, and I wasn't thinking because I was drunk, and I woke up in her bed, and and it's like he's weeping, he's just bawling his eyes out. And I said, well, what's going on inside, man? He's like, oh man, dude, I want to kill myself. I am so convicted over what I did, and I don't know how I'm going to face my wife. I don't know how I'm going to face my children. I don't know. And there's that genuine conviction there. And then I would think to myself, this guy's probably saved.
Yeah.
So it's not the sin that's being committed that makes me decide either way. It's what's happening inside them as they're doing those sins that makes me wonder either way.
Yeah.
But you're right. I can't know for sure in either situation. I can't see into that guy's heart. Only God can see into their heart to know if the Lord is in there or not. I have no clue. So it's that's the way I view it.
That's why I try not to and I'm not going to say I'm perfect because I've done it, but I try my hardest not to make judgment on people.
Sure.
Because to me, it's not my place.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that I haven't, because I have. I'm not perfect. I've definitely judged people.
You probably judged people. You probably
or
judged people that judge people.
Yeah. And, so I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I do try to. And if I don't agree with them, then let's just move on to something else, because there's no use of just wasting our time, energy, arguing, because neither one of us is going to change. And you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe, but we can be friends.
Right. Right. And that kind of brings me back to something you said early on about, we're saying, you believe whatever you want. I believe whatever I want. Let everybody believe whatever they want. Don't try to force that on other people. And I agree with that to a sense, to a point. And I'd say, like, if I'm in a conversation with somebody and they're really just like, dude, Ryan, just stop, dude. I don't care. I don't care about your God. I don't care about your religion. I don't want anything to do with it. Then I'm not going to keep pushing,
Yeah.
But the idea that, from the Christian belief, assuming it's true, there's people that are blindly walking towards a cliff, right? And they have no idea they're walking towards that cliff. And you kind of put it in human terms, like if we were at the Grand Canyon and there was a group of people that we loved and care about that had blindfolds on, and they were happy and smiling, but they were walking right towards the Grand Canyon. Now, are you going to sit back and say, well, I don't want to force my belief on them that they might fall off the edge of the Grand Canyon? I mean, I'm just going to sit back, and that's their choice. I mean, if they want to fall off, no, of course not, right? You're going to run at them screaming and yelling, stop,
I'm going to let them know, hey.
Yes, right? So that's kind of the same concept coming from a Christian perspective, is that's the way we view it. But that's a very obvious thing where people are not receptive. If they're not receptive, then I don't agree with the people that are going to be like, no, I gotta pound it into them. I gotta convert them. It's my job to make them Christians. No, it's not your job at all, right? No. It's your job is to share as you're led to share, and then that's it, so.
And it all goes back to, it's their choice. It's a choice they have to make. You can talk to them about it, and if they want to hear about it, that's cool.
Yes.
If they don't, don't push it. I don't like pushy people. In fact, I've got Justin and I went to Moscow over by Lewiston last weekend.
In Russia?
And we were looking at campers, because I've been really thinking I want to get a camper. So the sales guy really made me mad. He was just so pushy. And I mean, he just kept taking, we just showed up there. So the first thing he does, and I hadn't even seen a single camper, is he tried taking me to the table to fill out paperwork. Right. I said, what are you doing? I was like, why are you taking me to the paperwork? I haven't even looked at a camper.
Right.
And then he's like, oh yeah, I guess we should look at campers. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And he was just so pushy. And then the ones that we were looking at, in fact, I kind of got really irritated with him. And Justin's like, yeah, I'm an RV tech, blah, blah, blah. I looked right at the guy and I was like, why don't you just stand here and talk to him? You two talk. And I'm just going to go look at campers. Leave me alone.
Right.
And so
right. Yeah, for sure.
I walk off. I was like, just let me do what I want to do. I will let you know if I have questions or if there's something we should talk about. So you and Justin just figure this stuff out. Leave me out.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you there. And nobody likes that, right? You just reminded me of a story of our house where Bethany was at work. There was a time where she was working a few nights a week at a steakhouse as a server, and I was just home with the kids, and the Kirby vacuum guy comes over. Right. And they do their whole deal like, oh, well, just let me show you. Just let me show you a demonstration. I'll clean this part of your carpet. Or I was like, okay, whatever. Let him come in. That's my first mistake was letting him come in. And so he does this whole thing. And he's like, look, man, it's totally free. I'll do this upstairs room totally free, the whole room. I'm like, hey, and I even flat out told him, I said, look, as long as you're serious about it being totally free and you're not expecting anything out of it, go right ahead. If you think you're going to convince me with that, you go right ahead. I'll be open and I'll watch, and hey, maybe I'll be blown away. Be like, oh man, we got to get this vacuum, right?
Yeah.
So he does the whole thing, and then he starts going through his spiel about, well, we can get you this model for this much today, and everything's today, right? This deal does not go to tomorrow. It's only today, right? And I was like, okay. I said, look, man, I said, this is a big purchase. I need to talk to my wife first. She's at work right now. I can't reach her because she's serving at a restaurant. She's not going to be able to talk to me until she has a break or she's off. And I said, but I'll let you know. And he's like, well, this is only good today, man. I said, well, I'll find out late tonight. I said, look, I'm not going to make this decision without my wife being on board. This is something we're both going to have to make together because this is a lot of money. This isn't like you're asking me to buy a burrito from Taco Bell or something. I mean, this is like we're talking about some serious money here. And this is what he says to me. He goes, sir, I look at you as a man of integrity. If you can't make a decision, if you cannot make a decision without your wife's opinion, then I don't know what to tell you. I said, sir, you can go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
You can just get out of my house. Yes. You just lost a potential sale because you do not try to criticize me and try to make it sound like I don't have manhood because I want to include my wife in a major financial purchase. I said, you just need to get out of here. You're done. Because even if I was looking at possibly buying something from you, you just killed it.
Yep. You just totally shot yourself in the foot.
Exactly. And then he starts grumbling on his way. Oh, sure. I said, dude, just go. Just get. Thanks for cleaning the room upstairs. It looks great, but I'll see you later. It's just like, you're out of here. So I think we need to know when to stop. Right. Yeah. Sure. Present your product. Say, hey, I think this could really help you. Well, as you know, I do like what I do with my weight program thing. Right. Yeah. And I'm a coach for that. So I present it. I post stuff on Facebook, but I don't like hound people. Right. I don't get on them and be like, oh, you're going to do this yet or what? I mean, you said you wanted to, let's go. Yeah. I call them every day. Did you do this yet? No, because people are going to be like, dude, I'm going to unfriend that guy because I need to cut this guy out of my life because he's just like
exactly because he won't leave me alone. Right, so I don't want to talk to him anymore.
Exactly. But they see what I post. They know the product's there. If they're interested, I will let them contact me. That's the way I do it. If they contact me and say, hey, can I get some more information about that? Sure. I'd love to talk to you about it. But I'm not going to, I'm not trying to push it on people because I know that nobody likes that. Like nobody. Yeah. I've never met anybody who's like, don't you just love how salesmen are so pushy?
Yeah, Justin and I literally, so I look at some of the bigger campers, and this is the funny thing because Justin was asking them, they're supposed to have this huge sale on these campers, And so Justin was asking them, so how much is this one? Because I did find one that I really liked.
Yeah.
He avoided the question, never answered it. So we went back and I start, filling out paperwork, not saying that I'm buying it, just so they could like put me in the system or run my credit or whatever. And Justin and I are sitting there and I'm looking at Justin and I was like, that guy asked me if I was going to put my truck down as a down payment. And I told him, no, I didn't say it that nicely. I said, no, you're not getting my truck. And I was not nice about it. I mean, this guy was on my last nerve. And then, anyways, so he takes off and I'm looking at Justin. I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's get out of here. He's like, but he just left. I was like, I don't care. Let him come back and see that we're not here. I don't care. Right. I said, I'm done. I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
And Justin's like, yeah, I agree. I didn't really care for him either. I was like, he freaking just hit every bad sensor in my body. I literally wanted to just strangle the dude. He was driving me insane. And I just didn't like him. And he was so pushy. And the first thing that turned me off is we walked there and he wants to go straight to the paperwork before even looking at a camper.
Right.
I was like, dude, why don't you let me see what you have?
Right. Because he wants to approve you first. He wants to see what you can afford. So then he can say, hey, I've already done your books. You can do this one.
Yeah. Well, still, the thing is I just want to look. And I even told him that. Right when we came on, like, hey, don't try to push me into buying anything. I just want to see what you have so I can get an idea of what I want.
Right.
I said, I'm not guaranteeing you that I'm going to buy something.
Right.
I was very upfront with him right at the get-go.
Yeah.
And laid it down, let him know why I was there. So, he could have just walked off and helped someone else. I wouldn't have cared. I still would have went and looked at campers.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, go do that. Go help sell something to someone else. I'll let you know if I need you.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's just the type of person I am.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's that's most people, I think. Maybe they wouldn't have we're all going to handle it differently, but I think we're all the same in the fact that we don't like that kind of approach. We don't like pushy people. We don't like being told what we think. It's like, no, you don't tell me what I think or what I need. Let me make that decision on my own, Yeah, so,
I'm going to tell you what I want.
Right.
What
right.
I think I need. And you let me know whether or not you think I can afford it. That's all we need.
Yep. Exactly. Just tell me the truth. Be honest with me, and then I'll decide.
And don't ask for my truck as a down payment. That's where you screwed yourself. I love my truck.
Yeah.
You're not getting my truck.
Yeah. You might as well have asked for one of your kids as a down payment, right?
Yeah, there are some points I might have actually gave him one, but
right. Yeah. Yeah, depending on the day, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, hey, we're at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
fun.
Good. Anything else you want to add before we sign off, or you want to,
No, I'm good.
Any products you want to plug, or you want to, tell anybody about your new album that's coming out or anything?
I'm not that talented. So there's nothing super special about me.
Yeah.
No, actually that was fun. It was really fun. And cool. I hope you actually do look up those songs I told you.
I totally will. I always do. I learn a lot of new bands and stuff from this podcast. I love that.
Just let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will for sure.
So, I'm always interested in that because they're like, and then it might be harsh or whatever, but
right.
I always I like hearing what other people think.
Right. And you appreciate honesty. That's something I'm gathering from you, right? You don't want somebody to tell you, if I think it sucks, you want me to tell you, hey, I checked that band out. It sucks.
Yeah, exactly. I like honesty.
Right.
I love it. I respect it. That's what I want. I just want people to be honest. I wish there was more people in the world like that.
Right.
It'd be so much less BS we'd have to deal with if everyone was just honest.
I agree. So, all right. Well, cool. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm sure it's not in your comfort zone. I'm sure to be talking to a random stranger over the internet.
It's all right.
I appreciate it. So, all right. Well, I will let you go, and you enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Okay. You too.
Right,
Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. Please join the Facebook group to continue these conversations, and I would greatly appreciate your feedback. You can reach me at Why Can't We Talk About That at proton.me. Also, if you haven't yet, please leave a review. Thank you. Here's a clip from next week's episode.
Who you are, like there's multiple personalities basically. Like your thoughts are not who you are. Mm-hmm. You know, so in that sense, someone, and I've experienced it in whether it was true presence of God when I was in that Pentecostal church, mm-hmm. and you're feeling it. If I remember this correctly, I think I had him like pray, and I felt like I felt something, sure. And you fall down, but yep. It's you can be so caught up in the moment and emotionally,
absolutely,
and so
yes. So you can't trust your feelings to know, that was definitely God.
Right. And so that's the tricky thing about it. You know, you have your personal experience. Mm-hmm. Ryan has his personal experience sure. with your relationship with mm-hmm. God.
Right.
And you talk to him mm-hmm. verbally, mentally.
Sure.
He hears your thoughts. He's like Santa Claus. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're like, he is Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you're like, is this baloney?
Right.
Am I fabricating this because I want to believe so bad?